Your morning just got more interesting. Distilled and barrel-picked for your listening pleasure. Bo Bishop, a local sports media legend. What William T. Sherman was to the Union Army, he is to Northern College football. A husband, a father, and middling youth sports coach. He's friends with Central Ohio sporting royalty.
Talking to Ohio State Athletic Director Ross Bjorken. Coach Day walking on with us right now. Good to see you, buddy. Good buddy, Austin Ward. My good buddy, Tim May, the Tim May Show. The great Doug Lavery's joining us.
Hi, everybody. Dom Tiberi here.
Oh, Reese came in and he handed me papers.
Yeah,
and then he said, "You see that button? That's the only button you need to worry about. Don't touch. There's 8,000 buttons in front of me." Oh, I didn't know what he was talking about.
The one that says on.
We blew the budget on this imaging, and only two guys answered our ad on Craigslist. Ryan Baker and Eric Reeser. Act accordingly. You're now listening to Bishop and Friends.
Bishop and Friends is sponsored by Diamond Seller, your true jeweler for over 75 years.
They say that Christmas is the most wonderful time of the year. Now, I don't know who they are. They say a lot of things, but they're wrong. I think we're entering the most wonderful time of the year. And we've got a wonderful Just Friends edition of Bishop and Friends planned for you this morning. I'm Eric Reeser. He's Ryan Baker. Cole's running the board in the other room. It's a busy time, and that's what I think makes it so wonderful, as we are on the precipice of the madness. I think what you had last night in Dayton, especially that late game between Xavier and Texas, kind of shows the beauty and the nonsense of the first four play-in games. But you've got Ohio State spring football. So you're walking through the door of spring. You're walking through the door of opportunity into March Madness, the NCAA tournament. Spring football. Bill Bender was at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center yesterday for the quarterback, for the opening of the quarterback competition for Ohio State. He'll join us at 9:30, and then we'll have Paul Feinbaum on at 10:30. I'll ask him if he saw the SEC putting 14 teams into the big dance. That'll be 10:30. We'll do your emails at 10 o'clock. And then at 11:30, I know something, Baker, near and dear to your heart, the Columbus Blue Jackets. This is a must-win tonight against the Florida Panthers. So you've got that opportunity for the Blue Jackets in this coming spring. But you got to beat the Florida Panthers, or you've at least got to split tonight and tomorrow with the Pittsburgh Penguins. Jody Shelley will join us at 11:30. We'll do some Shelley time. Something's got to give here for this team. And so for all of that, I mentioned the opportunity that comes starts today. And we had a question yesterday about what would you rather do on a Thursday? Take off and watch the Masters, or take off and watch the first round of the NCAA tournament? And I do think for most of us that this is the best single day on the sports calendar. I think.
I mean, it's hard-pressed to find a better one than today and tomorrow, right? Like, this is the beginning. I know we had the first four, and we had some great moments, obviously, in Dayton and have over the years. But this is the beginning of the tournament today. I don't know how you separate today and tomorrow, other than today as the start. But these next 2 days are the mountaintop, I feel, of sports watching, right? You've got basketball going on all the time. And it is even the next 2 weekends, they're great as they get there, but we're whittling it down. You don't have as many games. You've got 4 games today starting in an hour and 20-minute period between 12:20 and 1:40, and it just goes all the way through midnight tonight.
Yeah, you got a pretty damn good one to kick us off. And I think, to your point, the beginning of it all is what makes it so special. An 8-9 matchup with Creighton and Louisville taking place in the Rupp Arena in Lexington. Having been to that arena to watch Ohio State back in 2007, I know that a lot of Kentucky fans will be there, but only to boo the hell out of the Cardinals. And so you have that as kind of your opening for what's supposed to be a day, what I think will be a day of exciting basketball. But back to last night real quick in Dayton, that Xavier-Texas matchup I think is the perfect way to encapsulate the first four. Those play-in games are teams that are bubblicious, are teams with big brands, teams with rabid fan bases, teams that need to play their way into the NCAA tournament, like the Mount St. Mary's American game. And we talked about this yesterday. Those are games that should be played today or tomorrow. Those teams won their conference tournament championships, should already have bids into the big dance, not play-in nonsense in Dayton, where their fan bases might travel. Last night was perfect between Xavier and Texas.
It was. And just to go back to your original point, and I still believe that these teams that win their conference tournaments, earn their way in, should not have to play in Dayton. But I did think Andy Finkelstein, college basketball insider for CBS Sports, who we had on yesterday. If you didn't hear that interview, go back and listen to the podcast. Just search Bishop and Friends wherever you get your audio, and that podcast of yesterday's show will pop up. But I did think he made an interesting point about the 1 versus the 16 usually is a blowout game, and these two teams don't get that moment. Like Mount St. Mary's, they have a win technically in the NCAA tournament now. So now they have to go play their 1 seed. I do think that was a compelling argument, but these games in Dayton should be the North Carolina, San Diego States, the Texas and Xavier. And what a job by Xavier. That game looked like it was over at halftime. They were down 10 with just over 13 minutes to go. They outscored Texas 34-18 the rest of the way to come back and win that game. And those are the moments. That's what makes this tournament so fun. Well, this tournament probably isn't the best way ever to crown a champion, because I don't know if you truly get the best team every time that wins it, but it sure is the most fun way to crown a champion.
Yeah, I think this is the best way. I don't think this crowns the best team, but this is the best way to crown a champion. It's single elimination. Every game matters. Every game's more important than the last. And I don't know if there's a proper way to crown the best team other than a set of numbers and formulas, and you go to the BCS model if you want to do the hoops version of it, the net rating plus all of the other things that they like to use for tournament resumes. But the NCAA tournament crowning a champion is, I think, the best in sport. And you go back to last night with Xavier in Texas, the Musketeers go up 1 with a huge 3. And then on the defensive side, Texas clangs a shot. And then there's Columbus's Dalen Swain on the back end to receive an and 1 that I think put Xavier up for good. And the best part about all of that was you had Musketeers fans in attendance absolutely losing their minds, encapsulating perfectly what March is and the madness of it all.
It's so great, and I think the crowds that you get at the University of Dayton Arena, which I don't know if you have not been to a college basketball game at the University of Dayton Arena, you need to go. A Dayton game is so fun. That atmosphere is just ridiculous. Reese, next year, I need to take, because I have to go to UD Arena.
You're there tomorrow.
I'm heading that way later today. Next year, I need to take an extra PTO day, and I need to go over early, and I need to watch these first fours because it's just so fun, and I can only imagine what it's like there last night. And I'm sure last night was even it was that atmosphere times more, because you probably had a ton of Xavier fans in the building.
You did, yeah, and there were even some that were dressed as bananas. And that game was bananas. And, where you have Xavier now moving on to take on Illinois in the Midwest region. Their first round game will be tomorrow night at 9:45, taking on the Illini in Milwaukee. On the other side of that, where you have Texas likely to move on from head coach Rodney Terry because of what happened last night, where the Longhorns had it at the half and then fell apart down the stretch. That's the ebb and flow that we talk about in all of these games. And the 64, again, starts today at 12:15.
And you talk about that opening game. I mean, that 8-9 matchup, Louisville-Creighton, that has all the makings of a banger to kick this tournament off, or tip this tournament off, I guess.
I paid no attention to Mount St. Mary's and American. That whoever wins that is going to get fed to Duke. And I think we're still waiting today to the status of Cooper Flagg for the Blue Devils, but they're playing Friday at 2:50 in Raleigh, which is, I think, 30 minutes from Durham. So that'll be a home game likely for the Blue Devils. And they did win the ACC tournament without Cooper Flagg. So this could be a game to where I know yesterday, this might have been at the half of Xavier, Texas. They were debating on the CBS or on the Turner broadcast if he should play or not. And I think you had Jalen Rose say that no, he shouldn't go. They don't need him to beat Mount St. Mary's. And I think you had Jay Wright of Villanova fame say that you need to get him acclimated to the NCAA tournament because he's never played in a game like that before.
You obviously don't need him to win this game.
Shouldn't.
Maybe you throw him out there, like you said, maybe you throw him out there for 10 minutes, so he can get that experience or whatnot. But we saw last night in that Mount St. Mary's American game when American's best player, Matt Rogers, kind of tweaked his knee. He came back in the game, and then it gave out on him big time, and he was out for the game. If you do that in your Duke, and that happens to Cooper Flagg, if you rush him back before he's ready and something like that happens, that's catastrophe for Duke. Maybe not in the first couple of rounds, but chances are you're not winning this tournament without him.
No, for Duke, you don't have him, you don't win the whole thing. You're not cutting down the nets in San Antonio in April. For Mount St. Mary's, I think the expectation is just to stay competitive. For Julian Sain, how does he manage expectations for Ohio State? That's next. It's Bishop and Friends on The Fan.
Wake up with The Fan. Eat lunch with The Fan. Go to bed with The Fan. Dream about The Fan. Then change your sheets. Gross.
Ew, you guys are gross, but stick around in case I don't find anyone else.
The Fan.
Master Grillers Unite. The grilling season never ends at Billiards Plus. Come see their best-in-class grills for yourself and check out Central Ohio's largest selection of pool tables, game furniture, and shuffleboard. Family-owned and operated. Billiards Plus on Dublin Center Drive in Dublin.
Hey, Ohio, Prime Sports has arrived, the only book where you can lay 108 instead of 110 on all your favorite teams. Football, baseball, basketball, and hockey. Why would you risk more to win the same amount at another sports book? Download the Prime Sports Ohio app or visit our website, primesportsbook.com. Get a welcome bonus to match your initial deposit up to $400 in bonus bets. And be a member of the Prime Sports family.
Terms and conditions apply. Visit website for details. Must be 21 and present in Ohio. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
There's a new way to surround yourself with savings at Giant Eagle and Market District. Shop Giant Eagle's uncompromising quality at a reliable price with everyday savings. Look for signs throughout the store to find bargains on produce, meat, and more. At Giant Eagle, we combine exceptional customer service and quality foods, all at great value to make the most of your shopping trip. Visit Giant Eagle or Market District today to see how easy it is to save.
Hey, it's Bobby Carpenter, and spring is here, and it's time to refresh your yard with Ohio Mulch. With 15 convenient locations in Central Ohio, it's easier than ever to get mulch ready for the season. Now through April 5th, get 5 bags of red, black, or brown mulch for just $10.95. Need it delivered? No problem. Save $50 on home delivery when you order online. Visit OhioMulch.com today and spruce up your yard with the best.
Ohio Mulch, landscape supply, cleaner, greener, better.
Hey, Ohio State fans. While others cut corners, like that team up north, Valvoline Instant Oil Change is Buckeye-level quality. We train hard and treat every day like game day. We're always quick, but never rushed. And you can stay in your car while our experts do the work. Valvoline Instant Oil Change is a proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics. Visit valvoline.com/Buckeyes to find your nearest location and access exclusive fan savings.
Care Heating and Cooling. When you need a company you can trust, call 1-800-COOLING.
For a limited time at Verizon, you can get our best price ever for a single line. Just $45 per month when you bring your phone, which is less than you spend on Too Tired to Cook takeout every week. Get one line on Unlimited Welcome for $45 per month with AutoPay plus taxes and fees. Visit your local Columbus Verizon store by April 2nd to save. $20 monthly promo credits applied over 36 months with a new line on Unlimited Welcome. In times of congestion, unlimited 5G and 4G LTE may be temporarily slower than other traffic. Domestic data roaming at 2G speeds. Additional terms apply.
All of our local shows have been ranked in the top 10 in the country by our industry peers, except for Timmy Hall and the Buckeye Show. I was going to make a joke about it, but it's more sad than anything. Poor Timmy, the Fan.
Feeling the aches and pains of everyday life slowing you down? Introducing Blue Emu, America's #1 emu oil formula for pain relief. In a recent clinical trial, 91% of users saw improvement after using Blue Emu. Whether you're working hard, playing harder, or just staying active, Blue Emu penetrates deep to relieve joint and muscle pain fast. And best of all, you won't stink. Join the 91% who felt the difference. Find Blue Emu at your local retailer or online. Blue Emu works fast and you won't stink.
Springtime is here, and you know what that means. It's time for Mulch Madness. Did you know that too much mulch is bad for trees and shrubs? 2 inches of mulch is plenty. Any more and you risk causing roots to grow up and around trunks, which increases unhealthy stress, shortens tree life, and even keeps moisture from getting down to tree roots. To find out more about Mulch Madness or to find a certified arborist near you, visit treesforohio.org. That's trees4ohio.org.
Fan weather.
From the Logan AC and Heat Services Weather Center.
Hey there, time now to check in on that weather report. Cloudy and dreary today. It'll be windy with winds gusting up to 35 miles per hour. Temperatures falling to the 40s by this afternoon. Patchy drizzle possible. We could even be mixing in a few snowflakes later on this evening. Tonight, get ready for a cold night. Low 28. Looking for the sunshine? Look no further than tomorrow. Bright blue skies with a high of 54. I'm meteorologist Dylan Robichaud with your 10 weather impact forecast on 97.1 The Fan.
News, opinions, and insight all before breakfast. Rise and shine with Morning Juice.
Weekdays starting at 6.
The Fan, Ohio's sports destination. The final season of Yellowstone might just be Bo's dad live on YouTube. What's the difference anyway? This is Bishop and Friends.
So the bracket's set. The madness begins at 12:15 today. You still got time to make your picks for the Fan and 10 TV's Bracket Challenge. Compete against your favorite Fan and 10 TV personalities or the ones you absolutely can't stand. The best part? Top bracket gets $1,000. You got to hurry because you got till today at noon. Head on over to 971thefan.com to enter the Fan and 10 TV's Bracket Challenge. It's sponsored by Mountain Dew, Ohio Bottled, and Buckeye Bold. So we had our bracket filled out yesterday. Baker, you have your personal bracket that's on at 971 The Fan. I've got mine. I've got St. John's winning the national championship. I had my bad boy Final Four. One of these things is like fantasy football where nobody really cares about your bracket, but I'm just telling you who I picked as the national champion. My bad boy Final Four is of coaches who have found themselves in hot water over the last couple of years. I know Nate Oates himself, I don't think, has been in hot water, but he, played a guy who was being investigated for murder. So not the greatest thing there, but for your national champion, who do you have?
I actually have the Florida Gators, as much as it pains me.
The Tennessee Volunteers, I think, was the show's bracket national champion.
It was.
On account of a volunteer being able to defeat in combat a tiger.
Because we had Tennessee.
Tennessee and Auburn was your national championship.
We had Baylor, and we had Colorado State.
Yes. And Colorado State made the Final Four by virtue of Fort Collins, Colorado, being one of the nicer locales of any school in this tournament.
Again, things you can see or hear if you check out the podcast from yesterday's show.
Where you do your podcasting, Bishop and Friends will be there at WBNS Radio on YouTube if you want to go back and watch any future or past. Can't watch the future, but you can watch past broadcasts of the show.
I mean, maybe someday. I'm seeing a lot of Florida, by the way, from the fan personalities, 10 TV personalities in the bracket challenge here. So your St. John's,
yes.
I haven't looked at everybody's. That's the only one I see with St. John's. But a
Florida,
Duke, an Auburn, a bunch of Florida.
Hottest team entering the tournament. So you would think Auburn and Duke, the number one seeds that you don't feel the best about, I would say, going into the madness. But that's what they do this for. You put the bracket on paper, but you play things on the court. Again, 12:15 today, an 8-9 matchup, Creighton and Louisville. Lexington is the site for the first game of the day. So you had day 2 of Ohio State spring ball yesterday at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. We're going to talk to Bill Bender of the Sporting News here coming up in about 10 minutes. He was live and in living color to watch what I think was the first of 13 opportunities for us to get to watch some quarterbacks throw the football in some form or fashion. So we're not going to really learn a ton because when you're the quarterback or you're a quarterback at Ohio State, you've got talent. You can throw the football really well. It looks pleasing to the eyeballs when the ball comes out of these guys' hands. Like that we know. But we also know there's so much more to playing quarterback at Ohio State. For years, Bo and I on this program would go into an Ohio State game on a Friday going into the noon hour, begging, pleading with the coaching staff to put in the second string quarterback and run the full complement of Ohio State's offense. And for it feels like ever, they have not done that. this season for the Buckeyes, you don't get to wade into the waters with Akron and Western Michigan and Marshall and Michigan State before you've got a challenge in what was Iowa this past season.
Right into the deep end.
You got Texas on the docket first game of the year. Now you've got Grambling and Ohio after that, so you can maybe iron out some wrinkles from that Texas game. But this will be the fine line that this coaching staff has to walk in getting a quarterback ready to do the basic quarterback things and not worry, in my opinion, too much about being the leader that Will Howard was. Because you don't have that in your room right now. But you've got guys with a ton of talent. And someone needs to emerge from that being the best at doing the quarterback job, not being the leader of this team.
And I don't think that's totally fair because we don't know if that's in that quarterback room. Now, we don't think it is, but some guys, they don't have the experience, right? But some guys are just natural leaders. Like they've talked about, somebody was talking about an Edric Houston who was a true freshman last year, and we got to see him play a little bit and go on. They talked about that guy is a leader on that defensive line group. James Peoples, didn't see a lot of him last year. They talked about him being a leader in that running back room already. So we just don't know if there's a leader like that in that quarterback room yet. But we do know, because we heard from Ryan Day, that's a big part of this, right? You got to get that leadership down. The quarterback has to be the first guy in, the last guy out, the guy that's working the hardest in the weight room.
But don't we think all three of these guys in the running are that first guy in, last guy out, hardest worker in the room? Like, I wonder if that's going to be, if there's too much of an emphasis put on that stops these guys from developing into what you need as a play caller, as a signal caller, as a leader of the offense. I know you talk about Edric Houston and James Peoples as emerging as leaders, but so much less is their responsibility compared to the quarterback.
You're right, and it's something that's going to hopefully come here throughout this competition where you see one guy really take off. Yeah. You know, as they say, the ball don't lie. And you're going to see who it is. I think it's been interesting early on here, and you haven't seen a lot. I feel like just what you're getting from people that have been there at practice, that maybe they think this is more of a competition at the quarterback spot than they thought, and that's because of the growth that the people that watch these guys all the time have seen out of Lincoln Keenholz from last year to this year.
I think it's a hell of a thing, and it will be a hell of a thing to watch Lincoln in this quarterback battle, considering his first opportunity to quarterback an Ohio State offense came in the least serious Ohio State operation of the last maybe 10 years, that Cotton Bowl against Missouri. Here you go, Lincoln. Yeah, makeshift offensive line. Yeah, not a great offensive plan. A kind of whatever, we're just happy to be here against a Missouri team that felt like a serious bowl win for the Tigers. And to have that be, that trail into this season where you think if you're Lincoln or if you're Aaron Nolan, who's now at South Carolina, you're going into a quarterback situation. They bring in Will Howard from the transfer portal. All of a sudden, Nick Saban retires, and then Julian Sain's available. And then because he's so sought after, you had to pluck him from the portal. You find yourself in a pecking order that like a roller coaster. And for Billy Fessler, the now quarterback coach of this team, it's the job that he's got, along with Ryan Day, along with Brian Hartline, to establish some sort of a pecking order going into the quarterback competition for fall camp. You don't have to do the pecking order now. In fact, he says as much when asked about it yesterday.
We do not. To be honest with you, Coach Day and I will sit down along with Coach Hartline and have those conversations. But the reality is we're going to let those guys compete, and we're going to let those guys go have equal opportunities. We are really far away from the start of fall camp and getting into the season. So more than anything, I'm just excited to watch them compete. I'm excited to watch them grow. Last year, both Lincoln, Julian, and then Tavian at the end of the year had the opportunity to see what it looks like and to watch Will and watch how he operated and to learn from him, and at the same time prepare to the level that, if something were to happen, they're ready to go in the game and go execute. So now to step into a role where they're competing for the job, is a little bit of a different deal. So I'm excited to see them compete more than anything.
What we know, and what we know is limited, that there is talent in this room. Obviously, they got scholarship opportunities to be a quarterback at Ohio State. Here's Billy Fessler on just that.
It was a special group last year. We're obviously kind of turning the leaf now and moving forward, but just to work with Will and to work with Devin and Lincoln and Julian, and Air when he was here, and, just across the board. It was such a good group of guys, and I think that chemistry was a big reason of why, we had the success down the stretch. The opportunity to work with Will and to work with a guy like that that's a pro, and the way he approached the game and the way he approached it with such great detail, and he always wanted to know more, and he was always trying to dive in and learn more. To me, it was, a big part of why he was able to go out and have so much success, because of the way he prepared.
You had such a ready-made pro even before you handed him the reins to the offense that you don't have this year. And Julian Sain, probably quarterback one in most people's eyes, was asked, I thought this question was funny. He asked, what was different for him this year as opposed to last?
When I first got here, I was still learning how everything works and learning what you're doing. And now I think I would know what I'm doing within the plays or within how the program works. So I think it's been good to just get adjusted, but still trying to improve.
I do feel like, Julian, the answer to that question would just be, I don't know, everything. Everything's different from this year to last. And I think he articulated it well there. I think all three of the two quarterbacks you heard from yesterday, and Billy Fessler really did the best job possible to temper the expectations for this. But when you've got quarterback at Ohio State, there's nothing bigger.
Think of the whirlwind that Julian Sain had last year as a freshman, and rolling in, going to Alabama, then the coach leaves and he switches and comes to Ohio State, having to learn starting to learn a system, then leaving and having to start another system. You talk about Billy Fessler, and this is a guy that last year during the season, I don't think any of us knew about, nope. Right?
Had no idea who he was.
No clue who he was. And then all of a sudden, Will Howard says, hey, Billy Fessler was a big reason for me making the improvements that I did here at Ohio State. And now you see Billy Fessler get the quarterback's coaching job, and you're hearing from him. Billy Fessler sure seems like a guy that is on the fast track, rising in the coaching ranks. And I really liked listening to him yesterday. He seems like a really sharp dude. And it seems like all these quarterbacks really trust him and have a lot of faith in him.
And that's going to be key, right? You have the trust and faith in the coaching staff. The coaching staff has trust and faith in you. Because, again, this isn't just a Mac water you can wade into the first games of the season. This is Texas. Bill Bender was live at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center yesterday. He took all of this in. He will regurgitate it with us in 2 minutes. It's Bishop and Friends on The Fan.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, millions of men experience ED, but not everyone can access or afford treatments like Viagra. At HIMSS, our own board-certified urologist, Dr. Peter Stahl, knows this better than anyone, and he knows that HIMSS can help.
Hi, I'm Dr. Peter Stahl, Senior Vice President of Men's Sexual Health at HIMSS. I've helped many guys with ED, and it has never been more convenient to treat than it is right now, thanks to HIMSS.
Through HIMSS.com, you can access a full range of treatment options for ED, including daily or as-needed meds through a 100% online process. If prescribed, your medication is shipped to you for free. Find the ED treatment that fits your needs. Options at up to 95% less than the brand names when you get started at hims.com/joy. To start your free online visit and find ED treatment at up to 95% less than brand name prices, go to hims.com/joy. That's hims.com/joy for your free online visit.
Everybody poops, everybody pees. Mommy, will you call Mr. Rooter, please? 'Cause I gotta poop and I gotta pee. Only Mr. Rooter can clear the drain for me. Thank you, Mr. Rooter.
Hi, everybody. We call it what it is at Mr. Rooter. When you have a plumbing or drain problem, the team at Mr. Rooter is ready 7 days a week. Call us today and take advantage of our $95 drain cleaning special. Visit us at MrRooter.com. We'll be there quick.
Promo West Productions and Bud Light present 311 live in concert. The Unity Tour 2025. August 24th, Kimba Live Outdoor. With special guests, Bad Flower, and Sitting on Saturn. Tickets on sale Friday at 10 a.m. at AXS.com. Brought to you by Bud Light and Promo West Productions.
Bishop and Friends is sponsored by Diamond Seller, your true jeweler for over 75 years. The Fan, Ohio sports destination.
What's up?
What's up, man? What's up with you?
Sponsored by High Bank Distillery, home of the best blended whiskey in America. Grab a bottle or dine in at their 3 restaurant locations, Grandview, Gahanna, and now in Westerville. Drink local. Drink High Bank.
Well, what's up on Thursday is an Ohio State spring quarterback battle that our guest, Bill Bender, had his eyes on yesterday. We go out now to the Bryant Heating and Cooling Systems fan guest hotline and bring on Bill from the Sporting News. And, Bill, I'm just going to start off with a pretty simple question, I think. Who's going to be Ohio State's starting quarterback August 30th against Texas?
Yeah, Tim May asked Coach Fessler that yesterday. And Billy Fessler didn't give Tim May too much, right? Like, Tim's the best, by the way. They... Interesting to see. There's a little bit of everything in all of them. Julian Sand, obviously, a lot's been made about his release, but as Coach Fessler said, there's more than that to being a quarterback. Lincoln Keenholz looked like he put on about 20 pounds of muscle. And then St. Clair, you're dealing with a freshman that just the size stands out from the sideline. You're like, man, he's big. I think he's 6'4", huge. So we'll see into the fall. I mean, if I had to guess, if you're asking, I mean, every national publication is going to say Julian Sand right now, but you got to play it out through the spring and the fall.
Bill, how do you think, as this coaching staff evaluates the quarterbacks and the limited amount of actual game reps that the 3 you mentioned have had and 0 college football reps for Tavy and St. Clair, how do they balance getting those guys ready to do that job with leading the football team? Because they've talked so much about leadership, and I wonder, Bill, if they put too much into that, then it kind of hampers their development as a quarterback.
Yeah, they talked a lot about leadership and toughness and, that first guy in, last guy out mentality. And to me, that's all part of the process, and I found it interesting that Billy Fessler was also asked about, how can they handle the pressure of playing at Ohio State? I would make the argument that playing quarterback at Ohio State is maybe the toughest job in college football right now. In the 80s and 70s, it was probably Notre Dame's quarterback, and 10 years ago, it's probably Alabama, but now I think it's Ohio State. So, and he said that they looked into that when they recruited these guys. So it will be an interesting quarterback battle. It's not quite like the one of all these years I've covered Ohio State. I think the one that stands out the most was when they had Tate Martell, Joe Burrow, and Dwayne Haskins. That's still the most interesting one to me.
Bill, obviously, for just the second day of practice, so you're not seeing a ton probably with everything that you're going to see from an Ohio State football team. But yesterday, one thing or two, and maybe it's a quarterback player that just stood out to you for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, just not. I don't really have one player, but I will say this: the thing that always sticks out when you go into Ohio State spring practice is you kind of stare down the sideline, and there's 150 people down the sideline, maybe more. Between media and recruits and high school coaches. Bumped into Brad Birchfield, the new Hilliard Derby coach. Had a good talk with him. We knew him from being in the area here. He's as good as they are as a high school coach, but it's an event, right? And you can see that the competition's out there. And I think one thing that stood out to me is the intensity on the offensive side of the ball. You saw Brian Hartline, the new offensive coordinator, getting after it with these players, even in a spring practice. So, that there's any doubt about, like a hangover from winning the title, I would say you see how competitive it is in that room. It's fun to watch.
You talk about intensity. I think that exemplifies Carlos Lachlan, the running backs coach. He is a high-energy guy. A lot of talk about the running back room as well. Do they have enough? They seem to be pretty happy with this running back room. They talked a lot about James Peoples and his leadership in that running back room and how much he learned from Travion and Quinshawn last year. Do you think James Peoples is ready to take over and be a number 1 back at Ohio State?
Well, yes, and he was asked a couple questions about comparing for J.K. Dobbins with the running style and the being from, I mean, the obvious part, yeah, they're both from Texas, but okay, what else? So, he does have a style like him, kind of a build like J.K., even the way he talks is a little bit like J.K. So that's kind of cool to know. And then C.J. Donaldson, I was familiar with him. I was always impressed with him at West Virginia. One game that stands out when I was watching them when he was there, they played Penn State a couple years ago, early game, and Penn State won the game, but you could see C.J. Donaldson flashed in that game. He's big. I think he's around 230, and you could tell he found out real quick how competitive that culture is. He talked about working the sled with Peoples and these winter workouts and the things that they're doing to improve. So, yeah, I think they'll be fine at the running back position. Maybe a little less known than last year with Travion and Quinshawn, but that doesn't mean these guys won't be as productive.
Bill Bender, our guest, he covers everything, I think, Bill, over at the Sporting News. We'll get to some brackets here in a minute, but I did want to bring up, as you mentioned, Brian Hartline, first-time, full-time play caller for the Ohio State football team. Matt Patricia, defensive coordinator now for the Buckeyes. Just what have you seen and just your thoughts on him being hired, and then kind of the guy who was with Bill Belichick for all of those years is now in Columbus?
I've said for years, this isn't the first time I've said this, that Ohio State's defensive coordinator should be an NFL guy. You have what is equivalent to NFL talent, all that 4- and 5-star talent. You should run NFL-type schemes. I know it's a college game, but why not just keep it simple and do it with that? And, I think that's something that he'll be able to do. I'm going to be honest, I was probably paying too much attention to the quarterbacks yesterday that I probably didn't watch the defense as close as I would be comfortable answering. But I think anytime you can build a defense around Caleb Downs and be creative in that regard, Matt Patricia should do fine.
Bill, when they had it was Monday, when they opened spring ball, they had the rosters out, and only one number 2 on this Buckeye squad, and that was for Caleb Downs. And I hypothesized that the reason they didn't give a couple of reasons why they didn't give a number 2 offensively right now is because you got to be a dude, and also because they might want to give Caleb Downs meaningful reps on the offense. Do you see more of that materializing in 2025?
Maybe, but I don't think they would do it as a gimmick. Some schools, and I'm not saying Colorado did that as a gimmick last year, or, Michigan way back in '97, or Georgia with Champ Bailey. It would have to actually be something that they want to work in the game plan. And I know Ryan Day teased that last year, but maybe. I think he'll continue to run back punts like he did last year. Anytime you have an explosive talent like that, you want to try to find other ways to get him to football. But I just think you stick him at safety and let him do work like he did last year, and he was really good at that.
Bill, it's March, so I feel like we've got to ask a little bit about college basketball in the NCAA tournament. We've already had a couple great games in the first 4. I'll contend that this weekend is the greatest sports weekend on the calendar. What's your thoughts on that? And then what are a couple March moments, March Madness moments that always stick out to you?
Oh, I mean, it'll be fun. This is a fun tournament. I think it's a little more wide open last year where we all knew that UConn was going to win it. So that's a good start. I mean, anybody from Duke with Cooper Flagg to St. John's and the Rick Pitino story, I think that's amazing. At Sporting News, we have a bunch of content over there, and I laughed. Our longtime basketball writer, Mike DeCourcy, I think he's the best in the country. I see him on Big Ten Network. We had the same Final Four and same championship game and same national champion. So if I'm going to go down, it's not bad to go down with Mike. And as far as moments, the one that we were talking about in the meeting yesterday, I mean, to me, if you're talking about one buzzer beater that defines March Madness, or this weekend, not March Madness, but this weekend, it's that Bryce Drew buzzer beater for Valpo where they ran that crazy play and he leaned in and hit the 3-pointer. I skipped school that day. And it was fun. I'm glad I did.
Bill, yeah, I think Alabama State's going to make its way into the one shining moment montage when they crown a national champion. For Duke, I thought it's just interesting. They're doing the wait-and-see thing with Cooper Flagg. Can the Blue Devils make it to San Antonio if he's playing limited minutes, or should they get him ramped up now?
Well, I mean, I was impressed with how Duke played without him, honestly, in the ACC tournament. I mean, in that first-round game, they have a tradition, Duke, dating back to when I was in college too, that when they are a 1 seed, they are a 1 seed. You know what I mean? Coach K was a 1 seed 14 times, and they won those games by an average of 30 points per game. So I don't know if you really need to, play him 35 minutes in that first round game. Then from there, if he's healthy, you go. And if Cooper Flagg is healthy, I think they have the NBA talent. They have, looking at mock drafts, they've got 3 or 4 guys that might be first-round picks. Now, does that translate in the tournament? Typically it does. So that makes it easy to pick Duke as a national champion. And if you don't, you go Florida. Florida's playing as well as anybody. Is there a Big Ten team? Maybe Michigan State. But I a little backed off them a little bit after they lost to Wisconsin.
Bill, real quick, we'll get you out of here on this one. You mentioned you and DeCourcy had the same Final Four and championship game. What was it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not, don't hold me to this because most years I light my bracket on fire, but I went Duke, Florida, Michigan State, and here's the one that your listeners are probably going to just pound the steering wheel. I did pick Tennessee to go to the Final Four, knowing that it probably won't happen. But I have Duke and Florida in the championship game and Duke and winning it. And I bet if you looked at all the brackets I've filled out since 5th grade, I bet you I've picked Duke most years. And the years I picked them, they never win. But I'll enjoy it just the same. I can't wait for it to start here at noon.
No, Bill, we appreciate the time you've given us today. Enjoy the weekend, enjoy spring ball, and we'll check in down the road. Thanks, man.
Hey, anytime, guys. Have a great weekend.
And again, Bill covers everything for the sporting news. I mean, NCAA football, NFL, NCAA hoops. I was going to ask him did it make you feel better or worse that our show picked Tennessee to win the national championship based on a volunteer beating a tiger in hand-to-hand combat? Or I guess not hand-to-hand because the Tennessee volunteer has a gun. And it might not. But he joins us courtesy the Bryant Heating and Cooling Systems fan guest hotline. Baker had mentioned Carlos Lachlan in Ohio State's running back room. Well, no softies in the Buckeyes' backfield, that's for sure. That's next. It's Bishop and Friends on the Fan.
Tweet from a listener. Are you carrying the Buckeye game today? Considering we've never not carried one, yes. The answer is yes. The Fan.
I'm an old school Joe. I never lay juice I don't want to lay. I don't hate my money like that. I'd rather lay -108 than -110, wouldn't you? Prime Sports is Ohio's full-time reduced juice sports book. Download the Prime Sports Ohio app or visit our website, primesportsbook.com. Get a welcome bonus to match your initial deposit up to $400 in bonus bets. And be a member of the Prime Sports family.
Terms and conditions apply. Visit website for details. Must be 21 and present in Ohio. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Common Man here. I take my job as endorser for Germain Lexus very seriously. I want to make sure that every Lexus on the lot meets my expectations. That's why I personally sit in each one. I massage the leather. Sometimes I take a nap in the back seat. If that's not a selling point, I don't know what is. Deal time. Lease the 2025 ES350 for as low as $409 per month or get 3.49% financing up to 60 months on their most popular new Lexus models. 2 locations to serve you, Dublin and Easton. Check them out online, GermainLexus.com.
Ready to hit the road in a new car? With Pathways, enjoy up to 90 days with no payments and low auto loan rates. Learn more at pathwayscu.com. Pathways Financial Credit Union, your true financial partner. Federally insured by NCUA.
The madness is finally here. No, literally. It's here at Hollywood Casino Columbus at the ESPN Bet Sportsbook. The Fan is throwing 24 hours of watch parties this glorious weekend. We even have our own custom shirts for you to win. The biggest screens, incredible food, and madness contests like horse and a 3-point shootout. Grab your friends and your bracket and join the Fan at Hollywood Casino Columbus and the ESPN Bet Sportsbook. Reserve a table at HollywoodColumbus.com. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
For a limited time at Verizon, you can get our best price ever for a single line. Just $45 per month when you bring your phone, which is less than you spend on Too Tired to Cook takeout every week. Get 1 line on unlimited welcome for $45 per month with AutoPay plus taxes and fees. Visit your local Columbus Verizon store by April 2nd to save. $20 monthly promo credits applied over 36 months with a new line on unlimited welcome. In times of congestion, unlimited 5G and 4G LTE may be temporarily slower than other traffic. Domestic data roaming at 2G speeds. Additional terms apply.
At Diamonds Direct, we believe luxury is an experience and not a price tag. Luxury is expert guidance. It's the selection of 10 jewelry stores under one roof. It's saving time on endless comparison shopping, and you'll only find this experience at Diamonds Direct. Our luxury showroom has it all. all backed by our lifetime warranties and our signature best price guarantee. Diamonds Direct is the perfect combination of luxury and value, so you don't ever have to compromise. Learn more at diamondsdirect.com. Diamonds Direct, your love, our passion.
March Madness hits the Schottenstein Center. Ohio State Buckeyes women's basketball takes on number 13 seed Montana State during the NCAA first round at 5:30 p.m. on Friday. Tickets are on sale at ohiostatebuckeyes.com.
Brackets are out, and now it's time to win some cash. Enter the Fan and 10 TV Bracket Challenge for your chance to win $1,000.
Sponsored by Mountain Dew, Ohio bottled, Buckeye bold.
Compete against your favorite Fan and 10 TV personalities, and compete against the ones you hate too. Registration closes at noon on Thursday, so don't wait till the final buzzer. Head to 971thefan.com for all the fun. The Fan, Ohio sports destination.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6759. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 five-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6759. That's 800-575-6759. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
The Fan Guest Hotline is sponsored by Federal Elite Heating and Cooling and Bryant, doing whatever it takes to keep you and your home comfortable. The Fan.
Distilled sports discussion served in light beer quantities. You're listening to Bishop and Friends.
Yes, you are. Reeser Baker Cole, a Just Friends edition of the program. We'll do emails at 10 o'clock. Michael sent this in about 20 minutes ago, checking to see how the Bishop family morning ended up to start their spring break. We don't know. I cannot confirm what happened with that. We will effort to get an update from the Bishop family coming up before the end of today's program. So you're going to have to just wait around to see, like all of us. Bo was sending us emails last night that we will give, we'll regurgitate those at 10 o'clock. But yeah, it was an incredible amount of faith they had that he thought he would have yesterday in getting to the airport less than 90 minutes before a flight takes off with 3 kids and a car service that was questionable at best. So hopefully, is as best I can give you, that they've made it, again, onto the plane safely and are on their way out to California for spring break, but we'll try and get the update later on in the program. Baker, you are on your way to Dayton after today's program, as this weekend the OHSAA is going to crown 7 state champions in boys basketball. You've got the D1 title till Saturday at 8:30. It's coming back to Columbus, the state championship is, between Olentangy and Reynoldsburg. But you were throwing some other stuff at me in the break, just with a D2 matchup with Massillon that's 14-13 on the season, somehow playing for it all.
Yeah, Massillon Perry in Division II. That'll be the 7:30 game tomorrow night. Another Columbus team there in Westerville North that they're playing for that. It's just funny how these teams come tournament time can get on a heater, or they played a really tough schedule throughout the year and whatnot. And Massillon Perry did play some tough teams. They had a couple decent winning streaks, a couple losing streaks, but they just get rolling come tournament time, and they can make it here. I think the cool thing, in Division 7, Reese, I think this is a great stat. You've got Rushi, who's 28-0.
Spelled like Russia.
Yeah, spelled like Russia. Playing 21-8 or 20-8 Cornerstone Christian. And, of course, we've talked about them on the program throughout the year because of Quinn Kwasniak and his chase of John Diebler's all-time scoring record in the state of Ohio, which he did pass here in the tournament. Rushi has not given up 50 points to any opponent this year. Kwasniak has 5 50-point games alone himself. So that game is going to be a contrast of styles.
Weren't we saying that going into the state or into postseason action was like he'd have to average more than 50 points a game to break that that John Diebler record and eat it?
I don't think it was quite 50. I think it was close to 40.
Okay.
I think it was like 38 something, but he did have like a 59-point game and a 53-point game back-to-back around that time when we were talking about
That's
it.
incredible. So Massillon Perry's got Westerville North in that D2 title tilt Friday night at 7:30. You've also got Columbus Academy here locally taking on Lutheran East out of Cleveland. That'll be Saturday at 10:45. So you had brought up to Bill Bender, our guest in the previous segment, Carlos Lachlan, and the intensity that he brings into this Ohio State running back room. And, you know, with losing two guys like Quinshawn Judkins and Travion Henderson, I don't think it's fair to expect any of these guys to have that sort of 1,000-yard production, the production out of the backfield, the production with throwing the foot or with catching the football, and that screenplay that will live in infamy or that'll go on in Buckeye lore. That second, that right before the half, you're feeling the momentum to Texas against Texas swing to the Longhorns, and then he swings that screenplay out for a touchdown, and you go on to win that game. And of course, that was what Travion gave you in his time at Ohio State. You don't have that known commodity with any of these guys in that room. They're going to be talented. Again, if you're at Ohio State, you've got a ton of talent. I thought it was interesting with C.J. Donaldson. That was going to be kind of the hammer, but if he's down to 220, he could be finesse on this. And now he's talking about how he's running like the Flash coming off, he was 240, and then now he's down to 220. Here's Carlos Lachlan, his coach, talking about that weight loss and what it's done for C.J. Donaldson.
Yep, came in at 244 pounds. I challenged him during the process of getting him here because he could have went other places. He said he wanted to be, he felt like I could get him ready. And I told him, I said, well, part of that's going to be discipline. Getting his weight down. He went from 244 to 226. I'm proud of him. But that just showed the mindset that he has to be disciplined and challenge himself. He looks good right now.
It does feel for me early on, and especially with the quarterback position just so inexperienced, that you have a running back tandem maybe in Donaldson and James Peoples that could provide you enough to where in situations where you need 3 yards or you need 2 yards, you're getting 3 on the ground. And the running back's going to be the guy to do it because you don't have kind of that Mack truck like you had with Will Howard last year.
I think it's interesting, and maybe, Reese, if Lincoln Keenholz does win this quarterback job, you do have that guy because we know what an athlete he is. And Bill Bender said it looked like he put on about 20 pounds of muscle in the offseason. But Carlos Lachlan yesterday in his availability at one point talked about goal line situations. And they talked about, did you bring a guy like CJ? Is that someone that you can use in the goal line situations because he's bigger? And he said he doesn't worry about size in those goal line situations because he talked about Jordan James as someone he had at Oregon, and they had no problem putting him in because he had a nose for the end zone. Sometimes the big guys, they don't run like big guys. So in a short yardage situation, just because they're big, it doesn't mean they're going to get those yards. Sometimes it's a mentality and a toughness, right? And he talked about it could be any of these guys. It could be a James Peoples when they need a yard. It could be a C.J. Donaldson. It could be a Bo Jackson maybe. It's just these guys got to get in there and show they have that propensity to do what is needed to get the first down.
And it even feels like, I can't remember the game it was last season, but James Peoples had some pop. They were on the goal line, and he shot through, like they shot him out of a cannon. And with any of these guys, this is a great spot, I think, for these players to be in, especially the guys that were able to sit behind and watch Travion and watch Quinshawn, and not only how they played and not only how hard they worked, but just their preparation in spring and going into fall camp. Because the one thing that will forever impress me about Travion was last season going into it, I didn't know that he could provide that as a pass protector. And he was throwing dudes like it was the Royal Rumble out of the backfield. For the quarterback, that is so important, especially with these guys that I'm going to keep hammering the inexperience because I don't think it could be understated when you've got what you have looming on August 30th.
And that kind of goes back to a mentality, right, of toughness. And that's where Carlos Laughlin said he sets the tone for this running back room. Whether he's feeling good or not coming into the day, he's going to go out there with all of his energy and all of his toughness, because when he does that, the rest of those guys follow because he's the head coach of that running back room. I don't think you're going to have a problem with C.J. Donaldson or James Peoples, either of those guys having that mentality. And some of the things you're hearing about Sam Williams-Dixon as well, T.C. Caffey, a guy we mentioned, we know we're not going to have a problem with him. So I think this running back room is in a really good spot. Again, it's just we haven't seen it on the field.
Right, and it's, again, they've only done 2 days of spring practice. They're going to have the Pro Day for Ohio State. That's coming up next Wednesday. Then Saturday, April 5th will be Student Appreciation Day, and it'll all culminate Saturday, April 12th in the Spring Showcase. Don't call it a game. We're going to open the email bag coming up next. It's Bishop and Friends on The Fan.
During this 10-second promo, Rothman will lose money gambling on something.
People like you come here and blow the family nest egg that built this town.
Rothman and Ice.
Weekdays from noon to 3.
The Fan.
When you join the plus side with AAA, that's all you'll have to do. Or you could learn to change your own tire.
Hey fam, what's up? Today I'm going to teach you to change a flat. Before we start, make sure it's not raining, or hailing, or lightning.
You can have AAA find you the right insurance policy, or you can shop for your own.
Hello?
I'm with Mega Insure. You requested a quote?
Yes, 3 months ago.
You could have our travel advisors plan your dream vacation, or book your own travel.
Woo! Panama City Beach! Spring break!
I thought you said we were going to Panama.
Wait, there's a difference?
Skip the hard work. On the plus side, get more with AAA. Go to AAA.com/plus side.
Need inspiration? Shop Kroger for mouth-watering meals and appetizing ingredients. Our low prices add up to big savings, plus over $600 in digital coupons each week, and up to $1 off per gallon at the pump. At Kroger, you always get big flavors and big savings. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
Right now, 6-ounce packages of fresh raspberries or blackberries are on sale for $1.88 each with your digital coupon. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
Start 2025 with significant growth and earning potential at Uline. Interview for warehouse roles at Uline's March hiring event in Etna, Ohio. Earn reliable income starting from $25 an hour with a $2 night shift increase. And get full health and retirement benefits on day one. Don't wait. Start building a long-term career at a growing company. Sign up for your warehouse interview on Saturday, March 22nd in Etna at uline.jobs. That's uline.jobs.
Hey there, friends. Bo Bishop here. Are you sick of the Ohio winter weather like me? Well, spring camping is almost here, and deals are blooming at RCD RV. From March 15th through the 29th, take advantage of our spring savings event. Over 800 new and pre-owned RVs in stock. Let us help plan a springtime adventure for you. New travel trailers starting as low as $12,995. Campers for every single budget. Visit the locations, Delaware, Heath, and Pataskala, or shop online at rcdrv.com. Don't wait. RCD RV is your destination for springtime adventure.
Master Grillers Unite. The grilling season never ends at Billiards Plus. Come see their best-in-class grills for yourself and check out Central Ohio's largest selection of pool tables, game furniture, and shuffleboard. Family-owned and operated. Billiards Plus on Dublin Center Drive in Dublin.
They say great customer service is a thing of the past, but not at Newman Roofing. Quality products, expert installers, and a team you can trust is the core foundation at Newman Roofing. Call 614-NEW-ROOF today to have your roofing, siding, or gutters replaced this spring, or visit online at newmanroofing.com.
Welcome to Tire Discounters.
Thanks. I gotta warn you, I drive a hard bargain.
Okay.
So let's hear your first offer.
Well, how about, with any 4-tire purchase, we'll give you a free alignment.
Man, I'm good. All right, let's do it before you change your mind.
And we'll also give you a free oil change.
Ha! I can't believe I talked you into this deal. Sometimes I amaze even myself.
Don't tell accounting. But with any 4-tire purchase at Tire Discounters, you get a free alignment and a free full synthetic oil change. See store for details.
Hey there, friends. Bo Bishop here. Who's cutting down the nets this year? Get in on all the tournament action at ESPN Bet Sportsbook. Go from tracking the latest upsets to placing bets in just a few taps. All tournament long, new customers can get $100 in bonus bets when you make your first $10 wager. Download the ESPN Bet Sportsbook app. Sign up with the promo code Radio100 to get started today. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
For a limited time at Verizon, you can get our best price ever. That's 4 lines on unlimited welcome for just $25 a line per month with autopay plus taxes and fees. You'll also get the new iPhone 16 Pro, 4 of them for the entire family when you trade in up to 4 phones from our top brands. That's a new phone for everyone, only on the network you can count on. Verizon. Visit a store today. 20 monthly promo credits applied over 36 months with a new line on unlimited welcome. In times of congestion, unlimited 5G and 4G LTE may be temporarily slower than other traffic. Domestic data roaming at 2G speeds. Additional terms apply for phone offer. See Verizon.com for details.
Evan Cohen here. Picking a place to build a life is a lot like selecting a draft pick. Make a decision that will set you up for long-term success. Pick Wisconsin. In Wisconsin, you'll find dynamic career opportunities, beautiful seasons, affordable living, and legendary weekends. From its high quality of life and great schools to its fine arts, culinary, and pro sports scenes, Wisconsin gives you so much to look forward to. That's why you should pick Wisconsin. Learn more about making Wisconsin your home. Visit pickwisconsin.com.
Broadcasting from the Lindsay Honda Studios.
Honda makes the cars. Lindsay makes the difference. Visit lindsayhonda.com.
WBNS-FM, HD1 Columbus. The Fan. Sports Center.
Good morning. I'm Eric Reeser. The first round of the NCAA tournament begins shortly after noon today. An 8-9 matchup in the South region as Creighton playing Louisville in Lexington. It's a 12-15 tip from Rupp Arena. Xavier punch-stitch ticket to the round of 64 last night with an 86-80 win over Texas. The Musketeers will move on to Milwaukee to play Illinois tomorrow night at 9:45. The Ohio State women's squad begins their NCAA tournament action tomorrow at 5:30, hosting Montana State. Winner gets Tennessee or South Florida Sunday at the Shot. And on the ice tonight at Nationwide, the Blue Jackets host the Florida Panthers at 7 o'clock. We'll have that game on the Fan with pregame coverage at 6:30. Jackets look to halt a 4-game slide. Columbus is at Pittsburgh on Friday. This update sponsored by the Waterworks. Get up to $2,000 off a new complete furnace and AC system with the Waterworks. Visit online today at thewaterworks.com. Breaking sports news when it happens on the Fan, Ohio's sports destination.
Our top men are working on everything except this show. This is Bishop and Friends.
Reeser Baker Cole on the first Thursday of the NCAA tournament. The madness again, as you heard the update anchor there, 12:15 at Rupp Arena. Then we've got 4 days of basketball, so glue your eyes open, kids, as best as you can. This is the first time that I think we've done this without Bo, because usually he gets the email messages. We got a couple today, and he also forwarded me some last night as I'm watching Texas and Xavier. I keep getting pings from Bo, who's forwarding me messages that we will now give to you as we open the mailbag.
Our comment box is always open. Any feedback is mostly appreciated.
The mail never stops. It just keeps coming and coming and coming. There's never a let up. It's relentless. Every day it piles up more and more and more. And you got to get it up. And the more you get out, the more it keeps coming in. Again.
Bishop and Friends present emails.
All right, this first one actually came into my inbox from Chad. He says he's wondering, with the hire of Eddie George, which Bowling Green home games do you think would be worth the drive to Bowling Green, and or which of their away games should be the best trip? And he adds, for context, my dad is a BGSU alum and now in his mid-80s. He lives in Cleveland, and I live in Austria. Since the hire, my dad and I have been super excited about the news, so I'm trying to plan something nice for us to go to.
So you and I were talking in the break, looking at their schedule. They've got a heck of a little month, starting with second week of the season. They're at Cincinnati, then they host Liberty, then they're at Louisville, they're at your Ohio Bobcats. And then if you want to throw a fifth one on there, they come home and they host Toledo. I think any or all of those games would be great. I would think that Cincinnati Bowling Green game would be awesome. Liberty has been a team recently that's really good. If you want to see where you are as a program, test yourself against Liberty, as they've been one of the better non-group of four schools. Louisville. I mean, that's awesome. I love all of those games. So any of those games from September 6th to October 11th, I'd say get there.
Of course, I'm partial to making the trip to Athens for that game against the Ohio Bobcats. But
you don't say.
Chad is... I looked. I had to Google it. There's no Austria, Ohio. So I'm assuming it's Austria, the country.
It has to be, right?
And so if he's coming from Austria, flying into Cleveland, his dad's in his mid-80s, I would assume the best opportunity would be taking a game in at Deutsche Perry Stadium. I think that game on August 28th, so it's a Thursday night, they're going to be opening up against Lafayette. And I have no idea what a Lafayette is. But the first game for Eddie George in the new era here, I think that factors to be pretty exciting, especially on a Thursday night. So to go for all the pomp and circumstance surrounding that for the first game of the season, like certainly a game at Nippert Stadium against Cincinnati would be great. Certainly a game against Liberty, would be incredible, against Louisville. But the travel for the Louisville and the Cincinnati games might be a little too much. Maybe, the Liberty and the Lafayette game, I think if you're going to circle games at the beginning of the season when the weather's still pretty nice, even in Northwest Ohio, I think would be wins.
And that's a good reason to take a Friday off, why not?
Yeah.
And how far can your dad go? Because the next season, if we assume that Eddie George is able to coach there a second year, they go to Nebraska, to Iowa State. I think going to Memorial Stadium in Nebraska would be a cool one if you can swing it.
Here's what I want Ohio State to do is figure out the schedule for the next couple of years, look at your non-conference, and if it's a MAC team other than Bowling Green, make it Bowling Green. I think as long as Eddie George is the coach there, you bring him to Columbus and you have a game against the Falcons.
I like Cole looking ahead there. I don't know if you can look too far ahead, though.
Yeah.
With Eddie George in Bowling Green, because I have a feeling like 3 years at Bowling Green, he's doing good. He's on to the NFL.
He's four years at Tennessee State, so he's got a 5-year contract in Bowling Green. So I do think you can look a little bit ahead because it doesn't feel like he's going to be a couple of years and done, maybe 3, maybe 4. I don't see him getting to that 5th year because I see success here for him with the Falcons.
The Bears did interview him.
He's going to be a popular candidate. I think every time, especially if Bowling Green's able to make a serious run for a MAC championship this fall, he's going to be on a lot of short lists for coaching jobs.
For sure.
Because of, the turnaround. He went from Broadway to Tennessee State. I mean, he's very impressive.
A well-rounded dude.
This we all know. This comes from Bill that Bo forwarded to me. Ryan Day's major coaching flaw is he doesn't play his backup quarterbacks enough to gain significant game experience. He has numerous times to get 1 or even 2 in the game for a quarter or more in many games. Only 1 play away from needing a substitute quarterback, and so many times when the score is under control, we still see the starter playing. Not sure I've heard him explain this. I have not sure I've heard him enough to explain to make any common sense, as I botch reading. We've said this for years. When the score is at a certain point, get the backup in with the full complement of the Ohio State offense.
It's my biggest pet peeve. It always has been, not just with the quarterbacks, but with everyone. Now it's amplified with the quarterbacks because you can only play 1 at a time, right? Like you can rotate different running backs in. You can rotate different defensive linemen in, different DBs. But with the quarterback spot, it is amplified. It just seems like, and we did get a little bit of an explanation about it last year, I believe, where they just kind of wanted to end games. They didn't want to extend games, get more plays because they knew they were going to have, or they would hoped they were going to have a 16-game season. So they were just trying to, instead of scoring at will and extending games, getting more plays where you could possibly get more guys in, they just wanted to run clocks out and get the game down to zeros and get it over with. But I think it is huge. We talked about it. Kyle McCord, you really didn't know what you had. Yeah. CJ Stroud, you really didn't know what you had before he started. And now you've got this again with Julian and Lincoln. And I feel like there were times last year, heck, there were times in the playoffs that you could have kept the pedal to the metal and blown someone out and then put those guys in and given them meaningful reps. I understand the reasoning with this past year But still, I would get these. I would rather see what these guys can do in game situations.
Yeah, it's a great point you make about the health, about wanting to just get these games over with when they are out of hand, because you don't know what's going to happen next week, because injuries they pop up at any time. But for the health of these quarterbacks in their development, it would behoove you. And so I beseech you, Ryan Day, Grambling, Ohio, great opportunities to get whoever quarterback 2 is into the game, meaningful reps, with a full complement of Ohio State's offense. And that includes Jeremiah Smith.
And, well, I was going to say,
for a year.
Even if you don't do it with the starters, which you'd like to see, run the same offense with the backups.
Yeah. This one comes from Tony. He asked, does the SEC have more NIL money than the Big Ten to spend on basketball? I don't think so, is my answer.
Not more than Ohio State, I wouldn't think, right?
I would imagine that both schools spend about evenly per school on name, image, and likeness. I mean, Purdue is probably does pretty well in terms of NIL deals for their players. That school does feel more of you got to come on and earn your NIL deals. But to keep those guys on campus in West Lafayette, that's got to take a lot, because that campus stinks. But Rutgers grabbed those 2 freshmen. Mm-hmm. You pull those guys from Georgia. You're not just pulling them to go to New Jersey because it's close to New York. Like, you're offering them things to get them to come to your school.
And listen, here at Ohio State, the NIL dollars are always going to be pushed the most towards the football program.
But so are they in the SEC.
That's just the way it is. But Ohio State spent money on this roster last year. Unfortunately, the guys they spent it on, it didn't work out, right? Michie Johnson. Who knows if we'll ever know the whole story there, what happened. No. I'm sure Aaron Bradshaw got a nice paycheck to come here. It just didn't work out for him on the court. We saw signs of improvement as the year went on from Sean Stewart, but it wasn't what we thought. You've got to spend that NIL money in the basketball side of things, whether you're in the SEC or at Ohio State or the Big Ten. You've got to spend it on the basketball side of things very smartly. You can't miss. Unfortunately, Ohio State did.
So that's the key word, smartly, which I don't know if it is a word, but you're saying with enough confidence that I'm using it.
It is.
You have to make sure that the money you allocate, because I believe that there is enough money for Ohio State to allocate for a successful team on the basketball side. You just have to do it properly. Like, I don't have any concern about how much money. The concern is the allocation. Joe Burrow, he got his guys allocated the proper slices of pie that he had called for at the Super Bowl. Now he wants Cincinnati to go across the pond. We'll discuss that next. It's Bishop and Friends on The Fan.
We have so many local shows, I can't fit them in a 10-second promo. So let's just say we're live and local all damn day. The Fan.
Breaking news coming in from Bet365. Bet365. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus only. Must be physically located in Ohio.
The best matchup is you in a new ride at Coghlan Chevrolet, Central Ohio's #1 Chevy dealer. Lease a new 25 Chevy Trax, $149 a month. Your choice, new 25 Trailblazer or 24 Blazer EV RS. Lease for $169 a month. At all 5 Coghlan Chevy locations and CoglanChevrolet.com. Together, let's drive.
Coghlan has the car for you.
36, 42, and 24-month leases, 10,000 miles per year, 25 cents per mile over, $39.99 due at signing plus tax, title, and license. See dealer for details. Ends 3/31/25.
We're catching up with that famous deep-sea explorer, Jacques Black Jacques. Jacques, where are you today?
How?
You're in Columbus. What could you possibly be exploring in Columbus?
The April showers bring flooding to Batmoons.
Oh, I see. Spring rains mean basements are flooding.
This not necessary. Apex Pros.
Not necessary. Call Apex Pros.
A simple zoom pump chick.
I'm sorry, I'm having trouble understanding this. Zoom, boom,
chick.
Sump pump check. Are you saying sump pump check?
Oui.
Yes, of course. A sump pump check from the pros who knows at Apex Pros.
They come to your house.
They come to your house.
They test your Zoom pool.
They test your, what is it again?
Zoom pool.
Sump pump, right.
All with a 5-star guarantee.
All with a 5-star guarantee. Now, see, I understood that perfectly.
No doubt about it. Columbus loves Apex Pros. The pros who knows. ApexPros.com.
If you're 55 and up, T-Mobile has plans built just for you. 2 lines of unlimited for just $30 a line. That's a 45% savings compared to Verizon and AT&T. But don't just take our word for it.
It's not just the savings that are great with our T-Mobile plan. There's all this value from all these other things that T-Mobile offers.
T-Mobile has been such a savings for us.
We love it.
Switch today and get 2 free 5G phones like the Motorola Edge with Turbo Power charging that gives you power for the day in just 15 minutes. And customers 55 and up can get 2 lines of talk, text, and data for only $30 a line. Go to T-Mobile.com/choice55 to learn more. With AutoPay plus taxes and fees, plus $5 per line without AutoPay. Debit or bank account required. 45% off 2 lines versus AT&T Starter and Verizon Welcome. Plan benefits vary. Motorola Edge on us with 24 monthly bill credits and new line for well-qualified customers, plus tax and $35 per line connection charge. See details at T-Mobile.com. Motorola Edge requires 68-watt charger. Charger sold separately. Actual performance will vary based on usage and configuration.
All your favorite and least favorite fan shows are available wherever you get your podcasts. Just type in 971 The Fan to the search bar and hit that subscribe button. It's free.
We're the land of the free and the home of the sunburnt, freckled fat guy.
Do it now.
And now, Public Education Matters with Ohio Education Association President Scott Damaro.
March is Women's History Month, and we are celebrating all the incredible women who have shaped our past and who continue to pave the way for a bright future for all of us. It's important to make sure women are in the room when decisions are made about our schools and communities. Let's work together to ensure we all have a seat at the table.
Public Education Matters, brought to you by the Ohio Education Association.
Do you want a job that is flexible, secure, and fun? It also offers excellent pay and is ranked as one of the best jobs in America, too. I'm talking about being a dental hygienist. And all you have to do is complete a 2-year program after high school. Visit ODA.org to learn more and to start helping people love their smile. This message is brought to you by the members of the Ohio Dental Association.
Fan weather.
From the Logan AC and Heat Services Weather Center.
Cloudy today along with a few showers, high around 48. Tonight, the showers move out and we clear up, low 28. Sunny tomorrow, high 54. Mostly cloudy on your Saturday with a few early showers, high 53. I'm meteorologist Dylan Robichaud with your 10 TV weather impact forecasts on 97.1 The Fan.
If the sound of another man slammed against plexiglass turns you on, you've come to the right place. Proud to be your home for Jackets hockey. The Fan, Ohio sports destination. We'll read your emails on the air, but we won't tell you where to send them. Hey, we're not doing all the work for you. This is Bishop and Friends.
Yeah, that is true. We did the email segment in the previous segment, and we rarely tell you which email address to send them to. There will be times that I will in the group chat or in the YouTube chat ask for someone who submitted a "Hey guys" question to send me your physical address and your number, and I'll give my email. But outside of that, there's really not a whole lot of solicitation. So good job out of you guys for sending those emails and figuring out how to get them to us. This was a couple of days ago, actually Monday, in the YouTube chat. Somebody had pointed out, because Ryan Day, when he spoke after the first practice of spring, seemed to have a little bit more pep in his step. Obviously, winning a national championship will do that. But I think it was Chris, because he chimes in a lot on the YouTube chat, that said, well, a $12 million contract is certainly going to do that. And I said, yeah, that's very fair. You win the national championship, you have a bunch of talent returning, and Ohio State just gave you a contract that made you the second highest paid coach in the land. Like $12 million a year is pretty good. That'll put pep in my step. And I remember seeing Jamar Chase and T. Higgins this week when they signed their contracts and they went into that press conference all smiles. Then I thought back to last week when Myles Garrett had his press conference, being rewarded as the highest paid non-quarterback in the league. There was no smile on the face of Myles Garrett throughout that. And at one point, I wanted to reach into the YouTube screen and be like, Miles, blink if you're being held hostage. Because it didn't seem like a person that was all that happy to be in the position that he was in, despite the contract that he was being given. So I just thought that interesting, those 3 different pressers for 4 highly compensated individuals, and just the wide range of emotions that they were on.
And you know what? We don't feel bad for any of them, right? Nope. Like, you get all of everything that's coming with that. Not all of it, because some of the stuff that people do is ridiculous, right? But the Myles Garrett thing, I never want to hear him talk again.
Nope.
You prove that Canton or Cleveland to Canton is fine with you, even though you said it wasn't about that. You did not have to sign that contract, right? You didn't have to take that money. And I just don't. And you know, Reese, Myles Garrett's a great player. I do not. I've never been a Myles Garrett guy. I know he's great. I don't think he's as good as everyone says, and I know a lot of people say I'm crazy for that, but I just don't care. You're going to be here, you're going to be unhappy, and it's going to be a problem for the Browns, right?
Probably.
Somehow this is going to be an issue with the Browns in the locker room, in this franchise, and it is just, to me, the Browns being the Browns, and I literally don't ever want to hear from Myles again.
And you might not, as you know, he might not make himself available too many times in the season. You will hear a lot from Joe Burrow, I think. I think you're going to hear a lot more from Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. That's a trio that's as happy as any in the NFL. Happy as any set of players in the NFL, because they were all rewarded for the work that they did this past season. Now it's really up to that front office to draft and develop talent on the defensive side of the ball. Before they even gave those contracts to T and Jamar, the onus was on the front office and Duke Tobin to draft and develop defensive talent. That was going to be before. That was once those two inked those massive deals. You've still got to draft and develop, and you've still got to make those defensive players that you've drafted hit, and you've got to figure out what to do. Obviously, if you fire Lou Anarumo, then now Al Golden, the spotlight shines on you.
I thought it was interesting listening to Albert Breer with Morning Juice this morning, talking about how they're going to have to go young on the defensive side of the ball and get guys just out of college, and how he thought Al Golden made a lot of sense as the Bengals defensive coordinator right now because of that reason. And it was just interesting to hear, obviously, someone way smarter than us on the NFL and Albert Breer talk about that. Because you're like, is it really a difference? Lou Anarumo to Al Golden. Lou Anarumo, the defense wasn't great last year, but I don't think anybody thought that was his fault. He's a guy that had been up for some head coaching jobs in the past couple of years. But that really made sense that, hey, maybe the Bengals are in better hands this year with Al Golden because of that relationship with the younger player.
Now, for Cincinnati, they have their opponents for the 2025 season. You've got the away games, you've got the home games. They're not going across the pond they're not scheduled to go across the pond like two of their other AFC North foes. Pittsburgh's going to Dublin. Cleveland's playing in London. But earlier this week on his Instagram account, Joe Burrow posted just a blank screen with, a rumor, Dolphins versus Bengals in Madrid, ? Please be true.
Didn't he have the big eyes on
the big eyes on that as well? And I think we reposted it, 971 The Fan. That would be awesome. I think for the Bengals to play the Dolphins, the Bernabeu in Madrid, looking maybe October for that game. But I looked it up at what potential opponents could the Dolphins be playing. Cincinnati, obviously one of them. Baltimore, maybe New Orleans, Tampa Bay. They've got the Chargers, but Los Angeles is playing in Brazil, so that will not be Miami's opponent in Spain, or the Washington Commanders. John Breach, friend of the program, he did some prognosticating as well. He thinks it's either the Bengals or the Washington Commanders.
And that would be awesome for the Bengals. It'd be awesome for the state of Ohio to have both teams kind of highlighted in an overseas game this year.
The Bengals highlighted. The Browns could be a low light.
Yeah, but we know that those games, the NFL tends to try to feature them. The one thing about that game that I love, whether it's the Bengals or the Commanders, I mean, the over-under on points in that game has got to be close to 60. I mean, the fans in Madrid will be treated, you would think, to a shootout with either of those matchups.
That's as good as an offensive matchup as you could ask for. A lot of the teams in the AFC North, or at least the three teams that I've kind of written down, two of them play Buffalo. And so I'd wondered for the Steelers or for the Browns if either of their matchups against the Bills could be overseas. But I don't know if they're going to send Buffalo to do that. It feels like they're one of the teams that they just want to keep in Buffalo. They're like the alt Jacksonville, where they send the Jaguars all the time. They maybe don't send the Bills as much, and they maybe won't this year.
You talk about the article that John Breach had about some of these possible matchups. For the Steelers in Dublin, he's got Packers or Seahawks. It was what makes sense to him. For the Browns in London, he's got the Titans or the 49ers at what makes sense for those. So probably not the Buffalo Bills for either of them, as that would be a huge big-time matchup, but still some fun possible opponents.
Yeah, with as late it feels for me as the announcement of this, or as the rumored announcement of this. Like, if you're a Cincinnati Bengals fan, you of course would want to go see your team play in Spain. But would this be too late to make all of those plans and travel arrangements? Because I thought before the Browns were announced, like, could it be Cleveland and Miami at the Bernabeu? Like, that would be an awesome game to go to. But in March, I don't know if I can make those plans, especially for October. We're kind of busy then. Like, it does feel like the NFL should get out in front of this a little earlier so that fans, like the average Joe fans, can make those kinds of plans. For in October, it's already March, so I'm kind of already planned out for the year. I don't know how the rest of you feel about that, or if Bengals fans out there, regardless of when they make the announcement, are you dropping everything, putting in the PTO request right away, and then seeing what kind of accommodations you can gobble up?
I would think if that's something you want to do, this is a once-in-a-lifetime type thing, so you would do that. Also, and that's no offense to the fans here in the States, I don't think the NFL cares as much. Because
they absolutely don't.
This is about growing the game over there, and they want as many fans from over there as possible to attend these games because they want to hook NFL fans overseas. They've already got us hooked.
Yeah, and I also saw this morning, and I think this was announced a couple months ago, where the Rams are going to Australia in 2026. And I just ask, like, who's asking for that? Like, who in Australia is going, you know what we need? We need the Los Angeles Rams. We need the NFL. But, of course, it's the NFL, and to your point, the global domination. I mean, they're playing in Berlin. I think it's the Colts that have that matchup this year. We already talked about the Spain game. There's 3 in London. Missing the Brazil game on the first Friday of the season. Not the first Friday, the actual first Friday.
Look, Reese, I don't know if anybody's asking for Browns-Titans, quite frankly, in London. But they're going to show up, and they'll turn out because it's NFL and it's a spectacle. Also, Reese, coming into today, I don't think we thought there were people in Austria looking forward to Bowling Green games. But
well, he's a transplant. So I guess there could be expats that are over there in their Cincinnati Bengals Joe Burrow jerseys being like, yeah, come on over. Yes, it does allow for that. But I was just wondering the same thing. Like, who's asking for that? Who's asking for Kirk Cousins? And new season, a quarterback, that's coming out in July. Netflix had the news. I think this was yesterday. Joe Burrow's going to be part of it. Jared Goff's going to be part of it. Kirk Cousins for the second year in a row.
Kirk Cousins, and we're not sure where he's playing?
Even if we were sure that the Falcons are going to keep him, is he that interesting where you got to I got to see what's on Netflix? I mean, Joe Burrow, yes. Jared Goff, yes, for a certain amount of fans. Yes, for probably or definitely Lions fans, maybe for Rams fans.
I think Cousins is a little interesting just because of how much daggone money this guy's made over his career. And people are like, there's no way he's worth all this money, but yet he keeps getting these huge contracts.
I mean, yeah, maybe it's your hate watching him because as he's got all of this money, you go, how is this quarterback who's been great a handful of times? A handful. And I think I'm being generous. How's he got all this money and what's he rolling around in?
I mean, we get hate listeners in the YouTube every day.
I do want to see for this to the producers of Netflix, who I know, like you said, are listening to this show. We got to follow up on Joe Burrow's Batmobile because there's no way that they would let anybody else in Cincinnati roll around on that, but for the quarterback of the favored team. We're going to get Paul Feinbaum on it, not talking about the Bengals or the Batmobile, but on college football, and if Deion Sanders maybe saved spring games. That's in 2 minutes. Bishop and Friends on the Fan.
That's the sound of a Mountain Dew. And that's you enjoying its refreshing citrus kick. That's a cool breeze suddenly whistling through your hair.
Whoa!
That's you realizing you're now on a mountain.
This is epic!
That's you stating the obvious. That's you stepping up to the plate. That's you winning your kickball game.
Yes, that's good.
That's you taking another sip of your
Mountain
The Do.
It's been a great run. Care Heating and Cooling has achieved goals I could only imagine 30 years ago. But now it's time for the next generation to take over. This is Mike Weens, now the retired founder of Care Heating and Cooling with my sons, Dennis and Ryan.
Dad, as Care grew over the years, you had many opportunities to sell Care to one of the big conglomerates that are buying companies all over Central Ohio. So tell our customers why you decided to keep Care in the family.
After talking about Care's values for over 30 years, I couldn't bear the thought of Care becoming the kind of company I was warning our customers about. I know the two of you will continue to treat our customers as I would, with honesty and integrity.
We will, Dad. In 2024, Care was awarded a BBB Torch Award for Ethics and was named the Lennox Partner of the Year. You don't earn those awards by leaving cat toys behind.
Call Care Heating and Cooling at 1-800-COOLING or schedule an appointment online at careheatingandcooling.com. When you need a company you can trust.
Hoops fans, are you ready to score big and get lucky this March?
What's up? It's T-Bone. I'm here to tell you that Bud Light will be holding mini hoops challenges at bars and restaurants across town over the next several weeks with one goal in mind.
To send one lucky local winner to Las Vegas where they'll compete for $10,000.
Take your shot at March Madness glory. This week, join Bud Light and watch some hoops on Saturday afternoon as they take over Pastimes Grandview and Grandview Yard. They'll be there from 2 to 6 p.m. and have a mini hoops basketball challenge
that'll give you a shot at a Vegas trip and $10,000.
Bishop and Friends is sponsored by Diamond Seller, your true jeweler for over 75 years. The Fan, Ohio sports destination. Bishop and Friends present college football's most polarizing figure.
Hey, Paul, how you doing? Come on back to our show, Tim. The audience hates you.
This is ESPN's Paul Feinbaum, sponsored by the Roofing Guys. For all your roofing, siding, and gutter needs, contact the Roofing Guys at theroofingguys.com.
And he joins us courtesy the Bryant Heating and Cooling Systems fan guest hotline. Paul, we just crowned a national champion like 2 months ago, I think it was. And now we're looking forward to spring ball. Thank you so much for the time this morning. I'm sure by now you've seen the comments from Deion Sanders about inviting a team to Boulder for a couple of days and then doing a spring showcase, and the tweet by Fran Brown saying, hey, Syracuse would be more than willing to fly and make that trip. Paul, do you think Deion Sanders possibly has saved the spring showcase?
Well, he saved himself because he's one of the few schools that has a national TV date. And I think it does add some drama now. Can they get it through? I thought it was pretty funny when the NCAA said they can't do it. Now, tell me this, guys. Why would anybody care right now what the NCAA said about anything? They have absolutely no authority. So I would just look them in the eye and say, try to stop me.
It's so true, Paul. We've seen that happen on the basketball side for sure, a little bit in football. Speaking of spring football, Day 3 underway here in Columbus for Ohio State spring football, and it is a spectacle here. We had Bill Bender on earlier, and he talked about 150, 200 people lining the sidelines to watch Ohio State warm up and do a little couple things in spring. We can only see it from our eyes here. Is that same kind of importance and emphasis on spring football? Is it there for the fans and the media down in the SEC world?
It's not as big this year, and I think the reason is, let me state before I even answer, the SEC loves to boast. And since the SEC hasn't had much to boast about the last 2 years with Michigan and Ohio State, we are making sure everybody knows that we are the king of college basketball. 14 schools on Sunday. Of course, one has already gone out, and the tournament hasn't even started yet. But that is taking up a little more oxygen. But what is interesting about the SEC and Alabama in particular is there is a great deal of chatter from my end about Julian Sayon and what he's going to do at Ohio State, because while Caleb Downs got the headlines in the aftermath of Nick Saban leaving, a lot of people I know in Tuscaloosa felt like maybe the biggest defection was Sayon, because he probably could have been avoided. There was a lot of chatter about Kalen DeBoer flat out blowing it. There's a book called The Price that came out last summer that detailed the situation where Sayon went in to meet with DeBoer, and DeBoer mispronounced his name, and that was really it. So that is probably the most interest from at least a number of pit places down here. Georgia is also a very big situation because for really 3 or 4 years, Georgia has almost owned the sport the way Alabama had previously under Saban. And this week you get a lot of negativity coming out of Kirby Smart, where he's blasting his freshmen, saying they're out of shape. Which I asked the question, whose fault is that? Doesn't he have a conditioning coach?
Yeah, Paul, it's really interesting when you hear, even Ryan Day talked about coming off the field for the first practice. He's like, well, gosh, we might not win a game this year. And of course, he's doing a lot of that tongue in cheek. But when you look at a lot of the teams that prognosticators have as their top 5 way too early in the college football season, a lot of them are going to be starting a new quarterback. Is that something where teams every single year are trying to figure out what to do with the quarterback? Because you talk about Julian Sain popping into the portal and then popping into Columbus, or you talk about last year with Ohio State picking up Will Howard out of the transfer portal. Notre Dame did the same thing. How feasible is that to just year after year turning over the quarterback spot?
It's a real problem, and as you go around the country, the schools that have experience are the ones where there is the most confidence. Now, it doesn't always translate. To me, when the season begins, I suspect the number 1 and 2 teams in the country are going to be playing in Columbus, and they both have new quarterbacks. Now, the question is, do you really call Arch Manning a new quarterback? I mean, he has been in Texas for a couple of years, and there's probably never been a more prepared quarterback to ever come in as a starter than him. He could have left Texas last year, and I dare say started almost anywhere in the country.
Paul, you mentioned the quarterbacks. Obviously, outside of the quarterbacks, for the Texases, the Georgias, the Alabamas, the LSUs, the teams at the top of the SEC, what are the biggest questions in the SEC this spring?
Well, one of the questions is LSU because Brian Kelly has underperformed. He's living off that first year when he got to the SEC championship game and he beat Nick Saban in overtime in Tiger Stadium. But it has really been difficult for him, and he's under tremendous fire. It didn't help Brian Kelly that Marcus Freeman nearly pulled off a national championship last year. But everyone believes that the situation has corrected itself. He went into the portal big. He's got Garrett Nussmeier, who was a very good quarterback, who didn't have a lot around him. He's also number 1 in recruiting for the next year. So those are things that can keep you going, but he has to have a big year. A lot of questions at Alabama. Alabama under Kalen DeBoer won 9 games, and it was literally considered a disaster. So he has to perform well. Georgia is a question marks. Florida is another one where you expect Florida to win. They've won countless national championships. Urban Meyer won 2 down there, and they bounced back last year, but still only won 8 games. And the schedule this year is even more difficult. They have Miami on the road the second week of the season. They play at Texas A&M. They have Texas at home. They have Georgia. I mean, they have a monster schedule with an embattled coach. So those are some of the bigger stories in the SEC. But really, in talking to a reporter from Texas yesterday, all eyes are on Texas. Can they improve on what they did last year? And how do they handle the opening game? And what many people believe is one of the biggest and best opening games in Columbus, Texas at Ohio State in really modern college football history.
Joined on the Brian Heating and Cooling Systems fan guest hotline by ESPN's Paul Feinbaum. Paul, right now over at ESPN Bet, Ohio State, Texas, Georgia, Oregon, and Penn State. Those are the top 5, the favorites to win the national title this year. Do you feel, kind of a two-parter here, do you feel that the national champion will come out of that group of 5 teams? And outside of those 5, who are a team or two that you would watch as a team that could win the national title?
I think very likely. The thing that surprises me is that there's so much faith being put on Penn State. And listen, you guys know the backstory, why people believe in Penn State. But unless the head coach has changed at Penn State, I simply don't believe it. Outside of that, I think LSU is probably the one that I would go to for the reasons of being the quarterback experience there, even though they open at Clemson. By the way, Clemson is another school that has been off the map for a couple of years. They played, I think, for 4 or 5 national championships until the COVID year. And they, with Klubnik at quarterback, they are positioned. They're also in the ACC. Speaking of the ACC, not a league that gets a lot of attention. There'll be a lot of eyes on Bill Belichick. Can he get near the playoff, I think, is the question. He's got an easy enough schedule that he probably can get to 9 wins. And if he turned a game or two, maybe he would be a factor as well.
Paul, real quick, I wanted to bring up the surprise basketball conference that is the Southeastern Conference. And it's interesting how, 14 teams, I don't think anybody saw just the volume of teams that this conference was going to put into the big dance. But I wanted to ask about a former coach in the SEC, in Will Wade. And with the news coming out that he's going to be at NC State next fall, was that a surprise for you that it took this long for him to get back to a Power 5 program?
Yes and no, because right now there just simply aren't any standards in college basketball or anything for that matter. When he got fired at LSU, it was a major scandal. I mean, I would have said at that moment in time, this guy will never work again. And then McNeese State threw him a lifeline. He did very well, which I expected. But when you think about going back 12 years, Bruce Pearl getting hired after a 3-year show cause, Chris Beard hired 2 years ago at Ole Miss after just getting run out of Texas with the number 1 team in the country after all kinds of allegations. I don't know if there's anyone who couldn't qualify to be a head basketball coach nowadays. Short of serving time in a federal penitentiary, I think you're eligible to be a college basketball coach nowadays.
Well, Paul, you certainly set the standard for college athletics here, and we appreciate the time you've given us today. Enjoy the tournament. Enjoy spring ball. We look forward to catching up with you next week, all right?
A pleasure. Thank you, guys.
And Paul joins us courtesy of the Bryant Heating and Cooling Systems fan guest hotline. We'll discuss a little more with Will Wade, about Will Wade, coming up, A Thing or Not a Thing, next. It's Bishop and Friends on The Fan.
A lot of hosts have been on our airways in the past 30 years. Some good, some bad, some really bad. Anyway, sorry for that. The Fan.
My USPS Ground Advantage package just left the warehouse. I get all the updates. Stay in the know with USPS Ground Advantage service. Visit USPS.com/in-the-know.
Men, this is Jeff for Tri-State Men's Health. The one you love is the light of your life. And if you're like most of us, you want to do whatever you can to nurture your relationship. But if you're suffering with erectile dysfunction, you know the impacts the condition is likely having on you and your partner. ED is a relationship destroyer. It can contribute to depression, distancing, conflicts, and even breakups and divorce. And what's so disturbing about this is that most men who suffer with ED can be successfully treated, but a lot of guys don't seek treatment when they should. At Tri-State Men's Health, we have protocols that are effective in well over 90% of cases. In fact, if you're like most guys, you could be having great sex within a day or two of your first appointment, and maybe find you're performing like you haven't in a long time. So call Tri-State Men's Health today. Your initial visit is only $99 and includes blood work, a medical consult, and if medically advised, a test dose. And if that test dose doesn't work in the office, your visit is free. Call 800-900-9654 or go to tristatemenshealth.com. We have 6 offices across the tri-state area to serve you.
Common Man here. I take my job as endorser for Germain Lexus very seriously. I want to make sure that every Lexus on the lot meets my expectations. That's why I personally sit in each one. I massage the leather. Sometimes I take a nap in the back seat. If that's not a selling point, I don't know what is. Deal time. Lease the 2025 ES350 for as low as $409 per month or get 3.49% financing up to 60 months on their most popular new Lexus models. 2 locations to serve you, Dublin and Easton. Check them out online, GermainLexus.com.
When getting the job done right is job one, you need construction equipment that's built right. From compact track loaders to the world's #1 selling compact excavator, the Kubota construction lineup features durable Kubota engines, more comfort, and the versatility to do it all and do it right. Visit your local Kubota dealer today. Go to KubotaUSA.com for full disclaimer.
Stop by Columbus Equipment in Columbus, Dayton, or Toledo to see their full line of Kubota construction equipment, or check them out online at ColumbusEquipment.com.
March Madness hits the Schottenstein Center. Ohio State Buckeyes women's basketball takes on number 13 seed Montana State during the NCAA first round at 5:30 p.m. on Friday. Tickets are on sale at OhioStateBuckeyes.com.
Wouldn't it be nice if you could dump all your problems on someone else's back? Well, when you wake up to a clogged drain or a plumbing issue, make that Mr. Rooter's problem.
Call 855-MISTERS today or MrRooter.com.
Call Mr. Rooter. He'll be there quick.
Montana, Bettis, Horning, and Brown, some of the greatest of all time, kicked off their careers in South Bend. You can celebrate Notre Dame football's impact on the professional game by visiting the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton to experience gold helmet to gold jacket March 14th through April 27th. And register to win our grand prize at 971thefan.com/goldjacket. One winner will receive 2 tickets to the Hall of Fame game, enshrinement ceremony, and the Hall of Fame Museum. That's 971thefan.com/goldjacket.
Guess what? Our ugly faces are on YouTube. Search 971 The Fan and watch all your favorite shows. Laptop, phone, tablet, smart TV, we're everywhere. Bring us in the bedroom with you. Yes, The Fan.
It's March, and you know what that means. Bracket season. You've crunched the numbers, picked your favorites, and maybe even taken a big gamble on that Cinderella team. But when it comes to your home, gambling is not an option. Spring storms are rolling in, bringing strong winds, heavy rain, and unpredictable weather. The question is your roof ready? At Newman Roofing, we don't leave anything up to chance. Whether you need a new roof, gutter replacement, or updated siding, our expert team is here to educate you, guide you, and give you the best options to fit your home's needs. No high-pressure sales, no surprises, just top-quality work from a team you can trust. That's why homeowners choose Newman Roofing, the #1 overall seed here in Columbus, because we deliver an unbeatable customer experience every single time. So, don't wait until the damage is done. Beat the storm before it ruins your big dance. Call 614-NEW-ROOF. That's 614-NEW-ROOF, or visit online at newmanroofing.com to schedule your spot this spring. Don't just get a new roof, get a Newman roof.
The Fan Guest Hotline is sponsored by Federal Elite Heating and Cooling and Bryant, doing whatever it takes to keep you and your home comfortable. The Fan.
When General Sherman marched through Georgia, he was listening to this show.
Use your skills for good, young warrior.
This is Bishop and Friends.
All right, so in the break, by the way, it's Reeser, Baker, Cole, Just Friends edition of the program. I sent a text to Bo just asking him for a status update if they were able to make to the airport on time, make their flight on time as they venture out to California for spring break, and the message failed to send. So hopefully he's in the air with his family and they're seated comfortably in the plane, likely Bo first class, the rest of the family in economy or coach, and they're, I guess, smoothly departed as they are on their way to California.
Never a doubt that it was all going to go smoothly. And
we don't know.
If the scenario that you just put out, that he's in first class by himself, hopefully he's continuing his first Friday.
Yeah, it's just a continuation of what was Wednesday, now into Thursday, as we begin the NCAA tournament today at 12:15. It was interesting having Paul on in the last segment. I asked about Will Wade. Well, you know, bad boys in college basketball, they don't stay down for long.
Thing or not a thing?
Sponsored by Apex Plumbing Pros.
Rick Pitino, head coach of St. John's, spoke yesterday in advance of their first-round game tonight against Omaha. So Pitino's playing tonight at a place where he coached when he was head coach at Providence. This is the same arena there in Rhode Island. And he was asked yesterday to reflect on his time coaching in New England.
So you look back on those days of the Palestra or being at BU, and you're going against, there's only one coach I really considered a rival in my whole career. And I've been blessed to coach against Frank McGuire's last game, coach against Dean Smith. There's only one coach I had a strong rivalry with. And today I respect him as much as anybody in the game. That was Jim Calhoun. We hated each other, BU and Northeastern hated each other. And there were 300 people in each arena. He goes on to coach in Connecticut. I go on to coach in Providence, and we hated each other there as well. And today I don't think I respect any coach in the game as much as I respect Jim Calhoun. So looking back on it, it was really funny at that stage of BU versus Northeastern.
And, of course, everybody took notice of those respect comments as the next potential matchup for St. John's is either Kansas and Bill Self or Arkansas and John Calipari. Thing or not a thing?
I think it's a pretty cool thing. I think that's one of the beauties of sports, right, is people are such tough, brutal competitors on the field, but there's a mutual respect, and usually you see a friendship later. It's one of the things that we love about the Ohio State-Michigan rivalry, right? Woody and Bo, how there was that deep hatred on the field, but a mutual respect off of it. I think of Larry Bird and Magic Johnson, how those two battled on the court, and now it seems like they're best of friends, and they had that mutual respect afterwards. So I think it's what makes sports great. Jim Calhoun and Rick Pitino, they were both great coaches, been to the pinnacle in their careers of their sports. They battled all the way up the ranks, and it's really cool. I'll tell you the thing, though, from that video, Rick Pitino looks great. Last time I saw Rick Pitino, he was pale as a ghost. He looked like he was about on death's door. Now that looked like the Rick Pitino pretty much that we've always known. He looked awesome. Good for him.
It was interesting yesterday, and this kind of goes to show how little I've followed college basketball outside of the Big Ten this season, but there's a pair of Patinos in the NCAA tournament as his son's got New Mexico playing against Marquette tomorrow at 7:25.
Yeah, I don't think that's much of a thing just because he's thinking about his time coaching in the Northeast. I don't think he's taking a shot at Calipari. I'm trying to look it up right now. I'm pretty sure that by the time that Calipari got to UMass, or the majority of the time that he was at UMass, Pitino was in the NBA at that point. It's almost like Calipari's been kind of like chasing his tail a little bit. But no, I think that's a really cool story because with me being a Notre Dame fan, I long for those days of the 16-team Big East Conference. I mean, that was just some of the best basketball ever when the football schools were still in it. So love hearing that story about him and Calhoun, and love also hearing that they openly hated each other. I think that's pretty cool.
The honesty there is pretty refreshing. On Wednesday, McNeese State's Will Wade confirmed reports that he's going to become the next head coach at NC State. I like the honesty from Will here. Quote, "There's no need to hide it. The guys are reading it on social media. It's no secret, and I'm not going to ask them to do something I'm not willing to do. It's no good if you don't address it and you sit there and BS them. They know. They can read right through the BS, so you might as well just say, this is what this is." McNeese won the Southland Conference regular season tournament and the tournament championship. They're going to play Clemson in the first round today at 3:15. That's on True TV for everybody out there. If you didn't dust off the True TV the past 2 days, now's your chance to do it before that 3:15 matchup. The news is expected to be made official following McNeese's exit from the tournament. Interesting to note with that, the transfer portal will open on Monday. So once the second round ends, maybe that's when McNeese dips out. In fact, they are to beat Clemson, but fall in the second round of the big dance. Thing or not a thing?
So you got to respect the honesty here from Will Wade. I wonder if this changes anything, because I know I've seen a lot of brackets that had McNeese State. That 5-12 is always a popular upset matchup. A lot of people had McNeese State moving on past Clemson. I wonder if this will change the attitude of the team or anything. I mean, hopeful. I would think that these guys are used to this and they'd be past that, and they're still going to go out there and give everything. But it'll be interesting to see. I mean, you'd like it if these things can be buttoned up until a team was done, but is this part of that transfer portal window? NC State had to have a coach, and they wanted that coach set so he could start talking to these players, making sure that they don't leave before this transfer portal opens, which I believe is Monday, right? The window opens Monday. So it's kind of a sucky thing here for McNeese State, that you would hope that this could be under wraps until they are bounced from the tournament and this can be officially announced.
I think it's a great thing that he was as honest as he was, because I hate the media coach company line that so many people offer in press conferences. It's like, well, then why are we even here? It's like, if we're not even going to just say anything, then why even show up? So I'm glad that he just, like he said, cut through the BS and was just like, look, man, this is the situation. A lot of people are kind of expecting it, so why beat around the bush at this point? And I think it's expected from a lot of people that despite all of his infractions that he had at LSU, as soon as he had McNeese State as a really good team really, really quickly, this is not the first year that they've been a tournament team under him, I believe, then you kind of knew where this was going. Like whether or not, and Paul Feinbaum just said it, these guys may be scumbags, but if they can coach, they're going to get a job. And in fact, Paul Feinbaum said, I think being instituted in a federal penitentiary is the only thing that can stop you. I don't know, because Michael Vick's a college football coach now.
And
it's a great point.
With Will Wade, with Bill Self, like these guys are on FBI wiretaps. Like, Will Wade's got the infamous strong-ass offer line from the FBI, and now he's going to be at NC State. It's incredible. It's also incredibly entertaining. We've got a pretty wild weekend, that April 12th of Ohio State's Spring Showcase, and I'll build it up here, and then we'll go into the next segment with it. But you have the Spring Showcase for Ohio State. You've also got the Blue Jackets and the Washington Capitals on April 12th with that game where they're still thinking Alexander Ovechkin might break or at least tie Wayne Gretzky's career goal streak. We've also got the Masters. And Scotty Scheffler, it was announced his Masters Club dinner for April 8th, so the couple of days prior to it actually starting. And I think this is a thing, so I'm not even going to bother with the question. But the appetizers, cheeseburger sliders, and firecracker shrimp, Papa Chef's meatball and ravioli bites for the apps. First course, Texas-style chili. The main course is a choice of wood-fired cowboy ribeye or blackened redfish. The dessert, warm chocolate chip skillet cookie.
I mean, there's a lot of wins there, right? I think you had me
Pretty good meal.
I think you had me at firecracker shrimp, but then you go with the cowboy ribeye and the warm skillet cookie. Oh, my goodness.
I'm just wondering, for some of these guys, like, that want to keep their body well-tuned for that event at Augusta, like, are you going with the cheeseburger, sliders, and firecracker shrimp in the appetizers, or are you trying to just wait to get to the ribeye, have just the ribeye, and then dip out?
Is he trying to eliminate his competition?
That's a good way to do it. You fatten them up before you throw them out there.
I mean, of course you would think like this, Reese. John Daly's sitting there like, give me all of it.
I mean, the thing with me, and maybe this is John Daly as well, is we're crushing the appetizers. Like, I'm not sure I'm able to get myself physically to the main course.
It could be tough.
Because that Texas-style chili's waiting there, and you're just housing a couple bowls of that, because it's all free.
I'll pass on the chili, but I'll load up on the shrimp and the ribeye. Let's go.
Yeah, I got a question for you. How can you have hope if you don't have a quarterback? Don't answer it now. Answer it next. It's Bishop and Friends on The Fan.
Common Man has spent the past 18 years telling you how much he hates people. And yes, that probably means you, too. Common Man and T-Bone.
Weekdays at 3.
The Fan.
Hey, what's up? It's T-Bone. Guys, listen up. How many of you out there have been diagnosed with sleep apnea? Maybe your partner can't tolerate your snoring every night. You can't stand your CPAP machine. I totally get it. But the good news is there are alternatives to the CPAP machine. And Dr. Mark Levy is here to change your sleep and your life. Trust me, your spouse will thank you later. Dr. Mark Levy can customize an oral appliance that opens your airways, helps you breathe better, and, of course, stops your snoring. That's the main point. It's quick and comfortable and an alternative to those bulky, loud CPAP machines you always hear about. For over 15 years, Dr. Mark Levy has led the way when it comes to treating snoring and sleep apnea, and now he's expanding his practice to better serve his patients with a brand new location in Marysville. I love Marysville. If you're snoring and not sleeping, you need to call Dr. Mark Levy's office today. Do not delay. Schedule your appointment today with Dr. Mark Levy at 1-800-MORE-SLEEP. That's 1-800-MORE-SLEEP. You can also visit him online at sleepbettercolumbus.com. And now, sleepbettermarysville.com too.
I'm an old school Joe, and my philosophy is simple and effective. At the end of the day, it's not what you win or lose, it's what you save. And Bet and Reduce Juice at Prime Sports Ohio is the way to save money on every single bet. Download the Prime Sports Ohio app or visit our website, primesportsbook.com. Get a welcome bonus to match your initial deposit up to $400 in bonus bets. And be a member of the Prime Sports family.
Terms and conditions apply. Visit website for details. Must be 21 and present in Ohio. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
That's the sound of a Mountain Dew. And that's you enjoying its refreshing citrus kick. That's a cool breeze suddenly whistling through your hair.
Whoa!
That's you realizing you're now on a mountain.
This is epic!
That's you stating the obvious. That's you stepping up to the plate. That's you winning your kickball game.
Yeah,
that's you taking another sip of your Do the Do.
He shoots, he scores! It's a great time of year to be a fan, but the fun stops when you or a loved one can't control your gambling. Maryhaven is here to help with in-person, virtual, and group options. Learn more at maryhaven.com.
Hey there, friends. Bo Bishop here. Are you sick of the Ohio winter weather like me? Well, spring camping is almost here, and deals are blooming at RCD RV. From March 15th through the 29th, take advantage of our spring savings event. Over 800 new and pre-owned RVs in stock. Let us help plan a springtime adventure for you. New travel trailers starting as low as $12,995. Campers for every single budget. Visit the locations, Delaware, Heath, and Pataskala, or shop online at rcdrv.com. Don't wait. RCD RV is your destination for springtime adventure.
Care Heating and Cooling. Honest technicians, honest pricing. Call 1-800-COOLING.
If you're 55 and up, T-Mobile has plans built just for you. 2 lines of unlimited for just $30 a line. That's a 45% savings compared to Verizon and AT&T. But don't just take our word for it.
It's not just the savings that are great with our T-Mobile plan. There's all this value from all these other things that T-Mobile offers.
T-Mobile has been such a savings for us.
We love it. Switch today and get 2 free 5G phones like the Motorola Edge with turbo power charging that gives you power for the day in just 15 minutes. And customers 55 and up can get 2 lines of talk, text, and data for only $30 a line. Go to T-Mobile.com/choice55 to learn more. With AutoPay plus taxes and fees, plus $5 per line without AutoPay. Debit or bank account required. 45% off 2 lines versus AT&T Starter and Verizon Welcome. Plan benefits vary. Motorola Edge on us with 24 monthly bill credits and new line for well-qualified customers, plus tax and $35 per line connection charge. See details at T-Mobile.com. Motorola Edge requires 68-watt charger. Charger sold separately. Actual performance will vary based on usage and configuration.
Transforming your land with a John Deere compact tractor is as easy as connect, latch, load, haul, spread. Cutting grass is as simple as roll, click, mow. Box blading is as effortless as hook, lock, grade. And backhoeing is as convenient as turn around, switch, dig. Because when you've got the versatility to tackle just about any job and dealer support in your own backyard, you just have to get in the seat. Find the right compact tractor for you at johndeere.com.
Hey, nice job, Pete. I like the clean lines. Fellas, do we have anyone that can get to Greenport today?
At Corey's Landscaping, the staffing plan is in the weeds.
Anthony, we need that leaf blower over here. 3 more new customer requests just came in. Who wants to work some overtime?
He needs to dig up quality landscapers and fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job on Indeed, it's easier for talented candidates to find it, which makes it easier for you to hire them. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Broadcasting from the Lindsay Honda Studios.
Honda makes the cars. Lindsay makes the difference. Visit lindsayhonda.com.
WBNS-FM, HD1 Columbus. The Fan. Sports Center.
Good morning. I'm Eric Reeser. The first round of the Big Dance begins shortly after noon today. It's an 8-9 matchup in the South region as Creighton playing Louisville in Lexington. Tip-off around 12:15. Xavier punched their ticket to the round of 64 last night with an 86-80 win over Texas. The Musketeers will move on to Milwaukee to play Illinois tomorrow night at 9:45. The Ohio State women's squad begins their NCAA tournament action tomorrow at 5:30, hosting Montana State. Winner gets Tennessee or South Florida Sunday at the Shot. And on the ice tonight at Nationwide, the Blue Jackets host the Florida Panthers. Face-off is 7 o'clock. We'll have that game on the Fan with pregame coverage at 6:30. Jackets look to halt a 4-game slide. Columbus is at Pittsburgh on Friday. Just one change for tonight. Elvis Merzlikins makes his return to the net. He's missed time to be a new dad for the second time. You can hear Blue Jackets hockey as well as breaking sports news when it happens. All on the Fan, Ohio's sports destination.
Producers, co-hosts, friends, some of those things are true. You're listening to Bishop and Friends.
Reeser, Baker, Cole, just friends edition of the program today. I'm still waiting to hear from Bo. I sent him a text. The message failed to send, so either he's blocked me, new phone, who dis, or the family is in the air en route for spring break. As you heard the update anchor say just seconds ago, 12:15, when the madness officially begins. Like, the first 4 play-in games are great. I think when you have a matchup like you had with Xavier and Texas last night, teams on the bubble looking to make the round of 64, looking to save the program, because I think Texas is going to dismiss their head coach sometime in the next couple of hours if they haven't done it already. But just that kind of the substance there is much better, in my opinion, than a Mount St. Mary's and American University. Obviously important for a team like Alabama State because it's their first NCAA tournament win in history. I just feel that they shouldn't have to do all of that after especially winning their conference tournament championship, because the criteria is you win your conference tournament championship, you're punched the ticket to the Big Dance. First 4 in, is that the Big Dance, Baker?
I mean, it technically is, right? They say it is. They want you to believe that, but I don't think most people do. But you're right. Last night, not only are those two teams, vying to get into the tournament, so to say, but it's also name brands, right? We had North Carolina, San Diego State, who has been to the Final Four, the final game, the past couple of years, Texas and Xavier. Those are known basketball brands. Now, it is cool that the Americans and the St. Mary's kind of get their own showcase last night, sharing it with just Xavier and Texas. But, yeah, I like those. The teams you want to get in, we want to have true play-in games. Those should be the teams.
We had talked at the end of the last segment. Scotty Scheffler revealed his Masters Club dinner at Augusta. It'll be April 8th when they do the dinner. Then that weekend, hello, friends. If I had the music, I'd play it. Although I don't know if we're allowed to play the music or else we're going to get kicked off the YouTube, so I won't do it. But my question is, for the appetizers, they have cheeseburger sliders. Are sliders apps, or can sliders be a meal?
I mean, I think they can definitely be both.
Yeah.
Usually, if I'm getting sliders, it is a meal because I want them all to myself.
Sure. Because I see on the apps, he's got the cheeseburger sliders that I just mentioned that are served Scotty style, which I'm very interested to know what that entails. Firecracker shrimp, yes, that's an appetizer. Papa Chef's meatball and ravioli bites. Bites, I think that's an app. Anytime you call something a bite, it's an app. Slider, I think, used to be, but now you could make a meal out of that. And then the first course, Texas-style chili. The main course, I think this really hit home with Baker, the fired cowboy ribeye or a blackened redfish.
I didn't even hear redfish the first time. I was done at cowboy ribeye.
And then the warm chocolate chip skillet cookie with the vanilla bean ice cream. Like, you just bring out a tray of cookies, honestly, after the sliders, and I'd be good to go there for the entire evening. The NFL is, I think, the blob that rolls down Main Street. I'm trying to invoke the image on the front of a Goosebumps novel where the blob is rolling down the street and it is literally covering, engulfing everything that it touches. That's like the NFL. Anytime there's something else out there, well, here comes the NFL with news that's not necessarily greater, but that they make seem greater as to take all of the attention away from anybody else that would like to try to escape under that gigantic shadow. And for teams that we care about here locally, you've got a quarterback in Cincinnati who's happy as hell because you paid Jamar, you paid T. Now, if you're working for an extension on Trey, that only makes the Cincinnati Bengals that much more threatening in the AFC. You've got the Pittsburgh Steelers bringing on DK Metcalf, so you thought, okay, well, now Pittsburgh's in win-now mode. They're not going to bring in DK to do a rebuild, but as of right now, they don't have a quarterback outside of Mason Rudolph. And so that brings me to the question, Baker, that I asked you. If you don't have a quarterback, do you actually have hope? And that question brings me to this week's Higher or Lower.
Bishop and Friends present Higher or Lower.
Sponsored by the Waterworks. Call the Waterworks and Header Heating and Cooling today at 614-232-2222 or visit online at thewaterworks.com.
Friend of the program, Nate Davis, who writes for the USA Today, has his post-free agency power rankings. And I was interested to see what he would say about teams that currently don't have a good plan at quarterback. I will run through the obvious ones at the top just real quick here. And Cole, Baker, feel free to chime in if you have any qualms with where he starts. The Philadelphia Eagles at number 1. Duh. The Buffalo Bills at number 2. The Baltimore Ravens are 3. The Rams are 4. The Chiefs are 5. Washington 6. Detroit 7. Green Bay 8. Tampa Bay 9. The Chargers 10. The Niners 11. The Seahawks at 12. The Bengals at 13. Higher or lower for Cincinnati there?
All right, so before I get to the Bengals here, I got some definite issues with the top. Like, the Eagles can be number 1. I don't know how the Kansas City Chiefs are 5, and I understand they didn't win the Super Bowl, and it's easy to dump on them now, but last time I checked, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson have not beaten Patrick Mahomes when it counts. So how you can have those teams over Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. I just don't get how the Chiefs are not number 2 on here. To me is ridiculous. I also don't think I would have the Rams that high at number 4. I would have to have both the Lions and the Commanders over them, and I've already said I would have the Chiefs over them. So I think the Rams have to go much lower. I think the Bengals are better than the Seahawks. I think they're better than the 49ers. I think they're better than the Chargers. I think they're better than the Buccaneers. So the Bengals have to go way up on this list to me.
Yeah, one team that stood out to me, too, was the Lions at 7. That kind of feels like an overreaction to one playoff flameout. So if they beat Washington in that game, I don't think there's any shot they're as low as 7. But I would also have to agree, as much as I hate admitting it, Bengals, with the firepower on offense, I would have them higher than 13. Like, I don't think the Buccaneers are better than them. I think the Buccaneers are just in a more convenient division. So the Buccaneers being at 9, the Bengals being at 13, something doesn't compute there.
And so at 14 on this, again, this is friend of the program, Nate Davis from the USA Today with his post-free agency power rankings. And I know if you're saying free agency hasn't ended, well, it's kind of coming to a close, especially with the quarterback position, as it looks like you've only got really out there in the void Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, maybe Kirk Cousins, and a couple of teams that are going to have to pick from one of those 3, which is not a place I would like to be if your team has aspirations of the playoffs next season. At 14, the Minnesota Vikings. And Nate's explanation is, can you imagine how far this loaded roster could go if it had a proven quarterback like, say, Burrow?
But they don't.
They don't, but it does look like they're going to move into the J.J. McCarthy era. And if they have enough supporting cast around him, and if they feel like he can be the guy that they drafted him to be, then they're set up pretty well right now.
I know a lot of people around here don't like it, but I actually believe in J.J. McCarthy. I actually think he's going to be a fine quarterback in the NFL, so I would have the Vikings higher, to be honest. There's no way, to me, the Chargers are better than the Vikings. I just think the Chargers and Justin Herbert are very overrated. There's a couple teams I would definitely move Minnesota up over.
So I'm going to go into the 20s now because, well, that's where...
Hold on. Don't skip the team after the Minnesota Vikings.
The team after the Minnesota Vikings.
They got the Arizona Cardinals at 15 here, and that just makes no sense to me. I just don't... Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm missing something, and I love Marv. But I do not believe the Arizona Cardinals are the 15th best team in the NFL.
No, I think there's a chance that Jonathan Gannon's coaching for his job this year. A chance.
They added
He's new-ish.
De facto MVP of the Super Bowl.
It's a nice add.
They got 8 wins last year.
They still got Kyler throwing the ball.
Well, that's the thing.
That's the problem.
This would, to me, say that Nate has faith in Kyler Murray. But he might be the only one outside of Arizona. So it's 16 the Bears, 17 the Broncos, 18 the Texans. I think that's a little too low with Houston. But I'm going to get into the 20s now because, boy, it feels like he copied and pasted the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cleveland Browns. So you have Pittsburgh right now at 26. And from Nate Davis, quote, let us know who the quarterback is, and we might have a more positive outlook for the 2025 season, though Russell Wilson clearly isn't the answer. And then at 27, the Cleveland Browns. Let us know who the quarterback is, and we might have a more positive outlook for the 2025 season, though Deshaun Watson and Kenny Pickett clearly aren't the correct answers. So I will ask both of you, Pittsburgh at 26 on a power ranking for 32 teams, higher or lower?
I understand there's no quarterback in place right now for the Pittsburgh Steelers, but in what world are the Carolina Panthers a better football team than the Pittsburgh Steelers? Like, I feel like the Pittsburgh Steelers could go out there right now with Mason Rudolph, and they're still a 9-8 team, and they're better than the Carolina Panthers. I get it. Bryce showed some flashes at the end of the year, but I don't think their roster is there. It is just baffling to me how anyone could have the Carolina Panthers over the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I believe we had a season, within the past 3 to 5 years where Mason Rudolph started 8 games and went 5-3. So I'm with you. Look, I want my Steelers to bottom out at some point. I wouldn't mind a year or two, hopefully not 7 or 8, where I'm looking forward to the draft because we got to have a little bit of a reset at some point with this quarterback position. But at the same time,
I'll believe it when I see it. It seems very, very, very uncharacteristic at this point. And I thought this year would be the year. And so I'm kind of just assuming that we're always going to be somewhere between 16 and 17.
And for the Browns at 27 out of 32 teams, that feels kind of like the right spot.
Yeah, I mean, they could probably maybe go lower a peg or two, depending on that quarterback. But yeah,
it does make me feel more and more comfortable that they're going to draft it to a quarterback, that the Giants at 3 are going to draft a quarterback. Tennessee Titans, you could still talk me into going anywhere else but quarterback. That'll be something that will remain to be seen. I think the overall theme from this, if you don't have a quarterback, you don't have anything. Ohio State's got 3 quarterbacks that they think are immensely talented. Which one will they trust the most to lead them against the Longhorns? We'll discuss that next. It's Bishop and Friends on The Fan.
We're known for 3 things: games, conversation, and Common Man yelling about things only he cares about. The Fan, Ohio's sports destination.
The best matchup is you in a new Kia from Coughlin Kia. Get into a new Kia now with $0 down. Get 0% financing on select new Kias and make 0 payments for 3 months on any new Kia in stock. Visit CoughlinKia.com.
Coughlin has the car for you.
0% for 72 equals $1,389 per 1,000 financed on Nero EV, EV6, and EV9 with approved credit through Kia Motor Finance. 90 days deferred payments until June 2025. Qualified manufacturer incentives to dealer. Prior sales excluded. No security deposit. Residency restrictions may apply. Offers cannot be combined. See dealer for details. Ends 3/31/25.
Do you suffer from leg pain, leg swelling, varicose veins, or leg ulcers? Dr. Barry Zeta and Dr. Joseph Senta at Ohio Vein and Vascular Polaris are pioneers in the vein and vascular field. Dr. Zeta and Dr. Senta can perform minimally invasive procedures that will get you back on track to a pain-free life. Stop living with leg pain and start the process to healthy living with a free healthy leg screening. Go to loveyourveins.com or call 614-324-VEIN. That's 614-324-VEIN or loveyourveins.com.
Care Heating and Cooling. When you need a company you can trust, call 1-800-COOLING.
The madness is finally here. No, literally. It's here at Hollywood Casino Columbus at the ESPN Bet Sportsbook. The Fan is throwing 24 hours of watch parties this glorious weekend. We even have our own custom shirts for you to win. The biggest screens, incredible food, and madness contests like horse and a 3-point shootout. Grab your friends and your bracket and join the Fan at Hollywood Casino Columbus and the ESPN Bet Sportsbook. Reserve a table at HollywoodColumbus.com. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Bets are us. When dreams don't end, bets are us.
Right now, get $1,500 off a shower or tub replacement or $3,000 off a full bathroom remodel, plus low to no monthly payments. Call 380-225-BATH to schedule your free estimate or go to bathsareus.com. 380-225-BATH.
Bets are us. When dreams don't end, bets are us.
Sometimes you don't realize something was bothering you
until it's gone.
That's how you're going to feel
after we work our magic at your house.
We make junk disappear.
All you have to do is point.
Call 1-800-GOT-JUNK
or visit 1-800-GOT-JUNK.com.
Spring forward, Columbus, with the Waterworks and Header Heating and Cooling Services. We're here to thaw you out with this limited time offer. Get up to $2,000 off a new complete furnace and AC system. This offer is too good to pass up. The Waterworks and Header Heating and Cooling now together to serve you better with $2,000 off a new complete furnace and AC system. This offer won't last. Call us today, 614-232-2222. That's 614-232-2222.
Much like a vampire, we need to be invited into your house. But once we're in, we never leave. Listen to The Fan on your Alexa or Google Home smart speaker. Just say play 97.1 The Fan and prepare to be amazed. Do it now.
Hello, it's John Kozik, founder and president of TurboTrack Realty. Do you want to sell your property, however, you need a little help getting through the process? Let's say you have years of belongings in the home. It needs a lot of updating, you're overwhelmed, and you may need help finding a place to go. I will help you. Visit us today at TurboTrackRealty.com or call me now for an all-cash offer and, more importantly, the help you need at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000.
This is Pause Before You Play, and it's time for more game day picks from local sports fans. You're on the air. Who you got?
Actually, I'm not betting, just chilling and watching the game.
I know that move. A pause. Sounds like you've got a winning strategy.
Exactly. After I set limits and recognized the risk, I knew it was time to stop.
Now that is responsible betting, folks. Sports are fast. Betting shouldn't be. Make a plan at pausebeforeyouplay.org. That's pausebeforeyouplay.org.
Fan weather.
From the Logan AC and Heat Services Weather Center.
Hey there, time now to check in on that weather report. Cloudy and dreary today. It'll be windy with winds gusting up to 35 miles per hour. Temperatures falling to the 40s by this afternoon. Patchy drizzle possible. We could even be mixing in a few snowflakes later on this evening. Tonight, get ready for a cold night. Low 28. Looking for the sunshine? Look no further than tomorrow. Bright blue skies with a high of 54. I'm meteorologist Dylan Robichaud with your 10 weather impact forecast on 97.1 The Fan.
An encyclopedic knowledge of sports and other random things you may or may not care about.
I think I found my mentor.
Rockman and Ice.
Weekdays from noon to 3.
The Fan. The uncle you never knew you had. The friends you kind of wish you didn't. This is Bishop and Friends.
We'll do a little Shelly time coming up in about 11 minutes. Blue Jackets are getting ready to host the Florida Panthers, the final game of a homestand before they head to Pittsburgh to play the Penguins tomorrow night. Both games will be at 7 o'clock. You can have pregame for both right here on The Fan starting at 6:30 Thursday, 6:30 Friday. Ryan Baker, is tonight's game against the Florida Panthers must win for this team?
I think tomorrow is more must win than tonight, just because it's tough to call a game against a team as good as the Florida Panthers a must win. None of these are must wins yet, right? But you're getting really close to that must win. I was really excited the way that third period ended the other night for the Blue Jackets, and then I realized, you got Florida on Thursday. So it's tough to roll that over. Hopefully you get that effort, and the same thing as you look at it right now, the Jackets are 3 points out of a wild card spot. At the moment, both of those teams, the Ottawa and Montreal, you're tied with in amount of games played. So I don't think it's a must win tonight, but man, you're getting really close. And if you don't win tonight, I think tomorrow becomes a must win.
And it looks like you're close to getting Sean Monahan, Cole Sillinger, Eric Goodbranson, Jake Christensen back for this team, just not tonight. All four skated yesterday. It's really, for me, the biggest piece has been Monahan, who since he's been out, Jacket special teams, the power play especially, has just not been special. And for this young team, you need to have those kinds of moments when you've got the man advantage to go and make something of it. You know, you look to that third period goal by Matthew Olivier the other night. While it wasn't with a man advantage, it did end a drought of 3 games almost without finding a puck into the back of the net. So however you can make those opportunities count, I think so important, especially for these young guys. But to get a guy like Sean Monahan back, Eric Goodbranson, guys that have played a lot of hockey before, will help as you kind of try to slog through the end of the season with games like you've got against the Ottawa Senators, like games you've got against the aforementioned Florida Panthers.
And it's interesting, and we'll ask Jody about this coming up in the next segment, but I was looking at the lines yesterday from practice. When you get these guys back, when you get Monahan back, when you get Cole Sillinger back, it's going to be interesting to see who comes out of this lineup, because most of these guys have been playing pretty well, and it's going to be interesting to see how this all shakes out and where everyone slots in and who comes out, who stays in. Very interesting.
And Elvis returns between the pipes tonight. Again, he's missed time as him and his wife, his wife gave the birth, but he was there supporting her as they welcome their second child into the world. So congratulations to the Merzlikins there.
And Jet Greaves, the last game, he played pretty well. He played
I'd
well.
say he played well.
And it's interesting because Jet Greaves, for the most part, has played well in his time that he's been up for as a Columbus Blue Jacket. He just hasn't gotten the results for whatever reason. I think it was Mark Scheig that put out the tweet, and I'm trying to look for it real fast.
About Jet Greaves?
He just talked about Jet Greaves, how in his 13 games, I think he's like 3-9-1 or 4-8-1 or something like that. And his numbers, his 9-10 save percentage is like in the top 15 or top 10 of goalies in that time. He just hasn't gotten the wins for some reason.
And that can do a ton when you're playing so well, or as well as you were saying, and you don't get those results, your confidence just gets shot.
And
How could it not?
Here it is. Jet Greaves has played 16 games in the NHL. He's got a 5-9-2 record. His save percentage is .910. That would be in the top half of the league for the season if he had qualifying numbers. He's also seen 37 or more shots 7 times. So Jet has played well. Unfortunately, he just hasn't gotten the results.
And the results are really the only thing that matters. But when you're playing well, despite all of that, I think you can manage to keep some of your confidence. But again, Elvis back in the pipes for the Blue Jackets tonight. It's interesting just the kind of scrutiny and the kind of spotlight that shines on 18, 19, 20-year-olds, especially when they're competing to be the starting quarterback at Ohio State. Like, you know, Bill had said it, and I think Paul Feinbaum might agree that at Ohio State, there are a few places where the scrutiny's bigger than you're the quarterback of Ohio State or the quarterback at Texas. Now, fitting that those two teams will meet on the field on August 30th for the first game of the season, probably the earliest in history that a 1's played a 2. No, we're not sure exactly who the 1 or the 2 is going to be. Texas or Ohio State, we likely think that that's going to be the combination. But for Julian Sain, for Lincoln Kienholz, even for Tavian St. Clair, you know, just keeping that confidence that they are, in fact, deserving of being in that quarterback room probably gets shaken and probably will get shaken over the next couple of weeks when you have, you know, errant throws. And it's so difficult nowadays when everybody's got cell phone cameras. And Bill Bender, when he joined us, talked about the hundreds of people that are watching every single throw that these guys make. And you'll see on Student Appreciation Day, that's Saturday, April 5th, you'll have close to 500 people watching every single throw that these guys make. And here was Julian from yesterday saying that he's comfortable being under scrutiny.
I think that's kind of with when you're at a big time program like Ohio State. I think everyone's judged. You know, everything you do is important. How your locker looks is important. All the small details.
Yeah, the details are going to be a key, especially when you haven't had meaningful reps on the field. Now, to Lincoln, who got a lot of praise yesterday for how he looks throwing the ball, for how he's carried himself here. Here's Kienholz talking about what he learned from Will Howard, who came to Ohio State as almost ready of a college football quarterback as you can be.
I'd say that really we can use each other to kind of just get each other better, I guess. And that was something that I kind of noticed with Devin and Will, was just that they were always asking each other questions and always making sure that we were doing the right thing. So
the dynamic here is going to be really interesting, because both of these guys are vying for that one job, one quarterback.
Obviously, the physical tools are there, but we know as a quarterback, there's more than physical tools that go involved to this. There's a mental game. There's a leadership aspect. There's knowing the offense, the time of the game, all of those things. And I think the good thing right now, while we haven't seen it on the field from these guys that much, it sure sounds like they understand all of that. And I'm sure they did a great job last year watching Will, learning. They probably learned as much listening to Will as they did watching Will, and learning from Chip Kelly and Ryan and Billy Fessler. And some of those pieces are still there. I'm sure they'll learn more from Coach Hartline and this group. But it sure sounds like at least that these guys understand it.
And for Julian, who we played this cut from him earlier in the show, just talked about what had changed from him last season, from last season to this season, where he comes into the program after that winter transfer portal window. You have to learn about Ohio State. You have to learn about being a Buckeye. You have to learn about being a college football player. Oh, yeah, and you've also got to learn how to compete in a quarterback room that's filled with a bunch of alphas. Here's what Lincoln had to say when asked a similar question about one or a couple of things that have changed for him from being a backup to now being truly in competition for the starting quarterback job.
I'd say my confidence and leadership a little bit. The past 2 years, I've had older guys in front of me, and just getting to learn from them on how to be a leader and how to take control of the huddle and things like that. And now I'm the oldest guy in the room, so I kind of feel that now, and I kind of feel more confident and feel like I need to be a leader for the quarterback room.
Now, he may not be the oldest guy in the room for long, as when the transfer portal window opens on April 16th. If Ohio State goes out and gets a quarterback, it's likely going to be a veteran who's like a Tristan Gebbia type, where he, I think it was 3 schools that he had played at, had seen so much college football. It's not going to be a Will Howard type who will come in and want to compete for the job, but a guy that you can rely on to not get rattled by situations that in case of emergency, you break the glass. So this is still very much, while we've all been saying it's Julian's job, and I feel like it's not a saying thing by what anybody said, it's what Ohio State did. You know, when you had a guy like Lincoln in the quarterback room, you had Aaron Nolan in the quarterback room, you had Will Howard coming in, you still went out to get another quarterback. Told me, I thought at the time, and I still think now, everything you need to know about what they feel about Ohio State's quarterback going into 2025.
And right, you like to have that veteran, that steady hand in there, that guy that, you know, as you said, what was it, emergency break.
In case of emergency, you break the glass. Come on, Tristan.
You'd like to have that guy there, and I'm sure that will come at some point here. But it's just nice to, listen, I hope this truly is a competition.
Same.
Right? Like, I hope you get Lincoln and you get Julian, and heck, let's throw Tavian in there as well. And you get them out there with the ones playing against the number 1 defense, and you get to really see how they are in that battle when the bullets are firing and see which one comes out and produces the best. We all just have kind of assumed, because of the pedigree and because he was on the depth chart last year, a little higher. We all just assume it's Julian saying, but you've heard these first 2 days of practice, and again, it's just the first 2 days. Not a lot going on, but you've heard a lot of people talk about the growth that Lincoln has made and that he really looks good.
But only 2 days, so you kind of have to take that with a grain of salt, but you also only have, what would it be, 12 more practices for the spring before things culminate in the spring showcase on April 12th. A lot can change between now and then, and a lot can certainly change as you get into fall camp. The Blue Jackets need to do something, need to make a change somewhere, somehow, to get off this 4-game schneid. We will bring Jody Shelley on coming up in 2 minutes. Bishop and Friends on The Fan.
Miss, your burger is served.
Thank you.
And if I may suggest a pairing, this is our finest Pepsi Zero Sugar. The sweetness of Pepsi perfectly balances the savory notes of your burger, while the citrus and carbonation elevates the taste for a truly stunning flavor profile. Bon appetit.
Now that is one perfect combination. If this is how the other half lives, I could get used to this. Burgers deserve Pepsi.
Hey, Ohio, Prime Sports has arrived, the only book where you can lay 108 instead of 110 on all your favorite teams. Football, baseball, basketball, and hockey. Why would you risk more to win the same amount at another sports book? Download the Prime Sports Ohio app or visit our website, primesportsbook.com. Get a welcome bonus to match your initial deposit up to $400 in bonus bets. And be a member of the Prime Sports family.
Terms and conditions apply. Visit website for details. Must be 21 and present in Ohio. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
If you're 55 and up, T-Mobile has plans built just for you. 2 lines of unlimited for just $30 a line. That's a 45% savings compared to Verizon and AT&T. But don't just take our word for it.
It's not just the savings that are great with our T-Mobile plan. There's all this value from all these other things that T-Mobile offers.
T-Mobile has been such a savings for us.
We love it. Switch today and get 2 free 5G phones like the Motorola Edge with Turbo Power charging that gives you power for the day in just 15 minutes. And customers 55 and up can get 2 lines of talk, text, and data for only $30 a line. Go to T-Mobile.com/choice55 to learn more. With AutoPay plus taxes and fees, plus $5 per line without AutoPay. Debit or bank account required. 45% off 2 lines versus AT&T Starter and Verizon Welcome. Plan benefits vary. Motorola Edge on us with 24 monthly bill credits and new line for well-qualified customers, plus tax and $35 per line connection charge. See details at T-Mobile.com. Motorola Edge requires 68-watt charger. Charger sold separately. Actual performance will vary based on usage and configuration.
All your favorite fan shows are available when you want them.
Head to 971thefan.com and hit that subscribe button.
The Fan, Ohio sports destination. The Gloves. It's Shelley time.
Sponsored by Visit Central Florida. Discover the real Florida magic at visitcentralflorida.com.
What a fitting sponsor to today's edition of Shelley Time as we go out now to the Bryant Heating and Cooling Systems Fan Guest Hotline and bring on Jody Shelley with the Blue Jackets on the FanDuel Sports Network. The Panthers, the opponent tonight at 7 o'clock. We'll have pregame coverage right here on the Fan at 6:30. Jody, real quick before we get into tonight's game, I mean, you're going to see that familiar face in Sergei Bobrovsky between the pipes for the Panthers. When you were with the Flyers 2010, 2011, and there was that rookie goaltender from Russia, did you at any point know in that season that he was going to be the Sergei Bobrovsky that is climbing his way up the NHL wins list for goalies?
You know what? I don't know if I can say that I knew he would be doing this, but I was impressed with Sergei Bobrovsky right from the start. I mean, we had Ilya Bryzgalov, who signed a big contract, and he was supposed to be the number one, but there was this quiet Russian goaltender who just went about his business and worked. And, I mean, he was incredible with his preparation. He still is. It's almost exhausting to think about what he has to do on a routine for the day before the game, the day of the game. And, his excellence comes from preparation. So I'm proud to have seen his preparation firsthand. And now that I look back, I'm not surprised that he's doing what he's doing. He's won a couple of Vezina trophies for the best goaltender in the league. He found his game. The talk in Florida when he first got there was he was a big contract. How do you move it? But he won in the playoffs, and he's elite. And there's only 4 or 5 elite goaltenders in this league, and it's not by chance. The best are the best because of how hard they work and how detailed they are, and he's done it.
Yeah, a Hall of Famer for sure. Jody, do you have any good rookie Bob stories that you can tell on the air?
Oh yeah, I got so many good Bob stories. We used to turn the lights out in the gym on Bobrovsky. He didn't speak any English, and we just called him Bob. And he would just smile every time we said, Bob. I still do that to this day when I see him. If he goes by now, I'll say, Bob. But anyways, we would finish a game, and Bob would have played, and we had joked that we would strap the bike on the roof of the bus so we could get out of there and get to the next city because Bobrovsky everyone's on the bus, everyone's loaded up, everyone's ready to go, and we look around and say, where's Bob? And sure enough, he's on the bike still. And it's one thing that he's known for is doing extra work. And I remember a number of times us being on the bus saying, "Let's go, Bob. Let's get this moving." So good teammate and hard worker.
Jody, I know that you weren't in the building Monday night for the game against New Jersey, but that third period might be one of the best, if not the best, period of hockey I've ever seen the Blue Jackets have. Unfortunately, fortunately, they do break the goalless streak with the Olivier goal, but they can't get more than that across the board, and they lose. What do the Jackets have to do tonight to continue that play of the third period, and how do they beat Bob or whoever is in net for Florida tonight?
Yeah, I think it's the attitude they played with. They changed the lines a little bit in that to start the third period, and that provided a spark. So you're going to see the same lines again tonight. Boone Jenner's going to be between Chinnikov up top and Voronkov. You're going to have Fantilli between Marchenko and Kent Johnson. So the top six, a little bit of pop. Their D need to be involved. Excuse me. We do that. We talk about that all the time. Their defensemen need to be involved, and they need to really take care of the puck. So 5 guys need to work together to get it out of their own end, and 5 guys need to work together to keep plays alive. Stay off the wall tonight. That's the key against the Florida Panthers. They want to pin you on the outside on the wall, get the puck back, and get out of their zone as quick as they can. So I think the Blue Jackets have got to fight to get off the wall here tonight. I think they're going to be fine. I think this team, you look at some moments, they look a little bit discouraged in games when they don't score. I think there's a re-energized group, and I think there's a spark and a desperation to get this going tonight. And there's guys coming back. There's guys getting healthy. Cole Sillinger, Monahan, Goodbranson. These guys are all skating now and ready to go pretty much with the team. They're very close, and that creates more competition. Who comes out of the lineup? Where do guys slot in? If I'm on the second line right now and I know Monahan's coming back on the first line, am I going to be bumped to the third line? Am I going to be out of the lineup? So there's a lot of those things going on, and I think coming off the third period heading into tonight, I think you're going to see a very enthused Blue Jackets team to start this.
Jody, we'll get more into those injured guys in a second, but you talked about Boone centering Voronkov and Chinnikov. Chinnikov probably had his best game since he returned to the lineup on Monday. How important is it for the Jackets moving forward to get that Igor Chinnikov and have him locked in?
Yeah, no, it's huge, right? I mean, this is a guy that can break open a game. This is a guy that can back off the D with his speed. And it's critical, and it's wearing on them. I mean, when you come back from injury, you want to have the impact right away. And this was a team that was having success, and they've hit a little bump in the road since he's come back. So you don't want to be that guy. You want to contribute. I watch him before practice, shooting pucks, after practice, working on some details. Boone Jenner still looking for his first goal of the year. I mean, these guys want to contribute and want to be difference makers. So, when you look at what they're doing out there and how they're preparing, they want to be the impact guys. So imperative for both of those guys to get going for this team.
Jody, Elvis back in the net tonight?
Yeah, Elvis is in.
So missed time, him and his wife welcomed their second child. What's that process like of being back for your family, welcoming a newborn, and then trying to get your mind right for a game with the stakes that this one has tonight?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if they had the baby. I'm sorry, I'm not up to date on that. But he's, it's family first, but you're as professional athletes, you do a very good job of separating the two. My role. I remember when I had my first child, I was in San Jose. I missed that game that night. But the next game, life is different. It's a different animal, and but when you get to the rink, your job. It's almost like a little bit of solitude in some ways, just to be able to go to the rink and turn that on, but also you do a much better job of turning it off when you go home to a family like that. So, I think that's something that players deal with and progress through as they go through their career.
Jody, you mentioned Sillinger, Monahan on the ice with the team practicing for the first time yesterday. Goodbranson and Christensen all out there. Any chance we get any of those guys tomorrow night against Pittsburgh?